Salutations, everybody. It is Matty here with episode 263 of the H.A.M Radio Podcast.
And it's me, Karak with ACG.
And I'm Dustin with Handsome Phantom.
Hello, gentlemen. Thank you so much for covering last week. I should have said that in the pre-show, but I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, we had a blast.
Yeah, it was a good time. Yeah, it was...
Didn't miss you at all. I'm just joking.
Nice little intimate chat.
Dustin, I saw you had like a different setup. I was confused by that. Were you were at your parents'?
Yeah, so I was down. My parents live in Alexandria, Virginia, and so I was there for a little bit, and then I went to Richmond and I hung out with Colin for a little bit, and then I came back. I was actually gone a whole week, so I just got back yesterday. So I'm back home now, back at my Ubisoft booth, as Karak says.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was messing around with the lights, and I was like, I should just stick with it. At this point, I'm committed. So
Yeah.
You are.
Did you have a good trip? Good week off?
yeah, I mean, it's weird because you're not able to do a lot of things right now. So it was a lot of just like hanging out, going skateboarding, eating a lot of food, and it was great. It was like the perfect relax. You know, when you're hanging out with my parents, it's very cool because they don't feel the need to entertain. You know what I mean? So we could just like sit around. I could play a game or read a book and just chill. So yeah, it was a nice trip.
Nice. Good. I'm glad to hear. Karak, how was your last week? I got to catch up with my boys here.
It was good. What did we do? I finally got the art finally done for the channel, which was cool.
You launched a new merch line, right?
Yeah, and that's been like something that I've wanted to do. Well, I spent all that money last year and then found out about the rules about like, you know, don't have it too comedic for kids. And that's sort of the way everything was going. So I had to, you know, redo everything. I finally got that done. Teespring.com/ACG. Check it.
Go check it out.
That's
I'm going to order a couple, by the way.
That might be the first and only time I'll ever pimp a merch. Thank you. But I got those. That was exciting because it's just finally one thing on a huge checklist of being done. And then Horizon, played a boat ton of Horizon Zero Dawn. We'll talk about Avengers. And I did do Fall Guys a little bit. I think Fall Guys, I don't know if you guys have played it, but it's the game. It's like, okay, so I love the idea, but it's one of those titles where it feels so shallow. Like I'm having a good time, but this is not going to last longer than, you know, right? Like,
all right, yeah. Let's just break into it.
Yeah,
let's just break into it, right?
So,
let's just
know...
put down this huge internet game right now, all right, gentlemen? Because Karak, I'm on the same page. Dustin, I saw you nodding.
Here's the thing that's weird about it is, oh, sorry, I got to get this out. I was just saying it's weird because I love it. I love the idea of it, but its delivery, it's how it gets to you. PS4 is free, by the way, because I think it's on PSN now or PS Now, which is cool. But it needs to. There's something about it that needs to not rest on the zeitgeist of like Twitch streamers, not rest on the momentary if it's going to be here, and I think it could be here forever because it's got this. The level structure is very cool, and I love the idea. But man, you got to make it so that people can get in. If they die, they're streamed to that next thing, and there's a lot of surprise. And one of the problems we ran into was we actually got the same level multiple times in a row. That was a soul killer. Now, I think most people would argue and say, "Well, I sort of want to get the same one so I can like practice a maneuver or whatever." I don't think that game's about practicing much. It's about quick Twitch stupid shit, and to me, I didn't like how it gave me its content at times, and I feel that price wise and just delivery of that entire package seems a little off, and I'm worried about it because I actually think it's cool.
Yeah.
That's it.
Dustin, you want to deliver some thoughts on Fall Guys?
Yeah. What's interesting about this game is it blew up a lot bigger than I thought. I mean, being on PS Plus will do that, of course, as we saw with Rocket League. I'm wondering how much the developers were ready for how big it was going to be, because there was the review bombing situation where it wasn't quite working right day one, and so they nicely asked on Twitter for people to stop review bombing, which was kind of an interesting thing that we can talk about. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I think Karak's right though, that this game, like, I had fun so I played the beta and then I played it again on PlayStation for just a little bit. And I had fun both of those times that I played it, but I wasn't like, this is something I need to play,
right?
You know, over and over. Like, so maybe you guys know the answer to this. is there like split screen? Like, can you do multiple players on one console online?
I don't believe so.
I don't
Okay.
think so.
Because I feel like that would be where this game would be like the most fun, is that if you're
That's
like
a really good idea.
you and a couple buddies,
Team of 4.
you got a couple beers in you, everyone's rowdy, and then stuff like that. I feel like would be incredible.
That's a really, really good idea. I never thought of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd fit really well. Yeah, I don't know if it's just because of like all the physics, because like when I was playing on PS4, there was times where, mainly during the DoorDash, which is like, for me, it's always the first game mode I get, where you're just diving through doors. And it's just complete luck. Like, that's one of my issues with it. I know BR always has a little luck, but to me, like, just banking off a door and being like, fuck, that's not the one, and then seeing everyone like knock you around and your game chugs. That was one of my problems. But yeah, did you guys have any performance issues on PS4 at all? Because like for me, it was, especially during DoorDash, the ragdoll.
Yeah, I did. And we'll speak about that in another game too. I did have some issues. I couldn't tell if it was server based though. I wasn't. So sometimes you'll see it and you'll be like, why is this getting weird FPS? And then you realize it's streaming something in the back, like the level or data. I couldn't tell what it was, but there were a couple times. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was playing. I was playing it at my parents' house. My dad has a base PS4, so it seemed mostly good. But is it 30 FPS on PS4 Pro also?
It feels 30.
Okay.
Yeah, and I have a Pro.
That's kind of what I
could
would
be
think,
wrong, but it feels 30.
Yeah, the other time I played was on my PC, and I didn't have any connections other than server side stuff. But
yeah, it's a fun game. I really do enjoy it when I play it, but there's already that feeling of, oh man, there's not enough modes. It's literally like Mario Party Battle Royale, which is why it's so fun, because it just feels like crazy party games. And so even though it's supposed to be a really fun game, I still want to win. And so, and this may just be me, I still want to win though. And so like with some of these games, they're just so goofy and, I gotta be honest, like dumb, that it just feels like sometimes it boils down to luck, and especially when you have no control. So there's this one mode where you got 3 sections and you got a bunch of balls dropping into this map, and you got to move the ball into your quadrant, and that's how you get points, because the ball will go from like blue to red. But it's like you and, let's say, like, I usually play with a full team, so it's like me and 3 other people, but then we got like 10 others with us who are all just running around with like chickens with their head cut off. And I always like to use the word controlled chaos. This doesn't feel like a controlled chaos.
Yeah.
It just feels like, all right, cool, I managed to, put it together here, and not really even by my own efforts, but because everyone worked together. But sometimes everyone's got different ideas, and there's no way to get on that same wavelength. I feel like for a BR game, I'm too reliant on like 20 other people to figure their shit out. And so I don't get to those deep, intense moments in the game. Like that really is what I think sold it to people. I saw like some of the final moments. You have those platforms that disappear beneath you for each one you land on. Couldn't get to those at times just because like we were playing soccer and my teammates were just chasing the ball, so no one was defending that. So I'm running back, but I'm one guy and this is a giant ball. So that's one of my problems with the game. I feel like it's hard to go deep on your own abilities.
Yeah, but I mean, when we look at it, one of the things that this won't happen, so I want to make sure people don't think I'm saying this will happen. It should happen though. We're talking about like hardware, especially PS5 and Xbox having faster hard drives and stuff. One of the things I would like with this game, for example, is let's say you lose or fall off something. I would love it if there was a loser bracket level below the main level. And so you fall and slide off of something, and now you're on the loser bracket level where the people who've slid off are doing something to that effect, because the waiting, this is going to sound really dumb but the shorter the level is, the less waiting I want to do. And by the way, this comes up in some other games I've played lately where you're like, this is so short. Why am I waiting almost as long for this level to load up? And those kind of things just sort of bothered me about the get in and out. And yeah, it doesn't, they're not long enough to feel deep. And even if you do well, I don't feel much, what's the term? I don't feel any confidence in that when I won, it was me. Not that I have to feel that, but if I don't feel that, I want other rewards, and I'm not getting it. I think it's social. I really do. And that, I think a lot of these games we see, like Dustin said, PSN, right? That's a huge boon. Twitch streamers is a huge boon. I don't care about that shit. I care about 2 months when those guys leave. And that's what I'm worried about. it feels like nobody will be playing it in a couple months. That's a little bothersome.
Yeah. I hope people are, but
Me
it
too.
depends how quickly they get the content out, right? It's an indie studio, so they only have a certain amount of manpower, but it's more successful than they expected. I was surprised that they even had, I'm not saying in a bad way, I was surprised that they had stuff like a battle pass and all that customization in the game with color schemes, patterns, outfits. It was just kind of funny overall, but I think the game has a good charm, and there were some cool moments. The thing is there are a lot of really good modes, but I feel like that's also a luck of the draw. Because I mentioned how at the end of the game I really like the platforms when they disappear, but then there's one where it was me and I think 15 other people, and it's called Grab the Crown, and it just sort of feels like, all right, get out of here, because you gotta, it's the final, it's one of the final round modes, and you gotta just go up this mountain and grab the crown at the end, and it really just, it's gonna sound stupid when I say it at first, but it really just boils to who's in front, but with so many dynamic elements like fruit hitting the ground and unanticipated bounces and all this stuff. There's been times where I've gotten to the top and pretty much won because I just kept going straight, hoping nothing hit me. It felt like there was no direct thought. Whereas, like I said, with the platforms disappearing, I felt like there was at least an active effort by me to win it. So yeah, I mean, would this be because we usually do a what we're playing here in the beginning of the show, would this be kind of like what we're playing outside of some of the other games we're going to be talking about later into the show?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've all played. It's one of the few that I think we've all played in the downtime between the show, which is pretty cool, because I think we all have slightly different things that we do, whether we're making a video or what.
I think this would be a good Switch game. I think it would fit really well there. I think it's going to be, that's where it might get its second set of legs if they get it on that platform, because one of the things I have an issue with the Switch is I hate playing shooters on that thing. I don't have a Pro controller, by the way. Usually a lot of people come my way with that. I don't own one, so I'm stuck with the Joy-Cons, and even if I wouldn't play a shooter on the Switch really in the first place, but with something like Fall Guys where it's platform based, I think that could do pretty well there. It seems fitting for the platform. All right. Anyway, we're going to do things in reverse here, because we did normally our what we're playing comes after we tell you guys about our Patreon, our merch, and all of that stuff. So let's get into that now, and then we'll hop into our first news bit. If you're new here, ladies and gentlemen, this is the H.A.M Radio Podcast. It's a weekly gaming show that we record every Friday. It goes up for early access that very day on the Patreon, mine personally. And then we have it go live on YouTube as well as other platforms on Sunday. I've actually completely messed up, and I've completely spaced on putting the podcast on Spotify for about 2 weeks. So I apologize. That's on me. Some people have been asking, I think I got 3 or 4 messages lately about it. So that's on me. I do apologize for that. But everything will be there by this Sunday. So do look forward to that. We want to make sure we're on all of your preferred platforms. But outside of that, Patreon will be linked in the description down below if you want early access. We run our supplemental show, Extra Slice of Ham, which you guys can get access to. That goes live every Wednesday, where we maybe review games that we're not going to put on the channel, or talk about news that's not going to get covered there in this show, rather, as often. But yeah, that's overall my little spiel. Whichever one of you wants to do a little promo, grab the mic.
Go for it, Dustin.
Promo. I don't know. Just for my own stuff. Have we done this before? Quick promo?
Quick promo, yeah.
You talked about Phantom.
Oh, okay. So yeah, check out handsomephantom.com. That's where
Phantom.
Yeah, that's where most of my output is right now. The main thing is the HP podcast. We're trying to grow that like crazy. And that's just a weekly gaming show, sort of like this one, though I think it's probably more off topic and probably less constructive overall.
That's a good thing.
If you like that, then check out the HP podcast for sure. I think you might like it. So,
indeed. Karak?
ACG Patreon helps me do reviews, doing reviews on games all the time. We've got a D&D game up and running. We've got something that I can't announce, that I've not been announcing now for months, that I'm still waiting on somebody else to do. And that's it.
Isn't that a terrible feeling? when you just want to do something and you're waiting on someone else?
Dude, I've never waited on. No lie, this is because I didn't even wait. Like when you and I started doing stuff, it was just like, or like Dustin and I were talking about stuff prior to the podcast. It's usually just like you blah 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 blah. This is the first time where I'm like, dude, what are we doing? And you're just waiting on somebody, and I don't wait well at all.
Yeah,
If I have a plan, I'm fine. But if I'm just like waiting on someone, it's bad. Like my friends are on, man, just don't make him wait because it's just shit. It just does. And I'm not lying, man. It's bothering me big time. I also don't like talking about it and doing that shit. I don't like being like something's coming up, and then you're not able to say it, and you sort of sound like a like you're.
I've made that mistake. You say like something's coming, and then plans change behind the scenes. And you're like, fuck, it's not what I meant to do.
Yep.
So I've been there. All right. Let's get into our first bit of news with the Suicide Squad reveal. This has been long rumored for a while that Rocksteady is working on some type of superhero game or anti-hero game in this case, and it turns out the Suicide Squad game rumors are indeed true. They revealed it on Twitter with a logo telling us to keep an eye out for the DC Fandom event, which is August 22nd. What's most interesting is some of the surrounding rumors with this game. One comes from Jason Schreier of now Bloomberg. He's no longer at Kotaku. And he talked a little bit about what to expect for this announcement. And he said, hold on, I got to find this tweet. The game will be teased at DC Fandom, but won't expect it for a while. And when someone even suggested fall 2021, he did say that probably further than that. So it's a while off. Not only that, other rumors surfaced that this game is going to be a games as a service title.
I saw that one.
And so that'll be a whole extra layer of conversation on top of this. But overall, Suicide Squad Twitter is out there. You can give it a follow for all of the information. It just says target locked DC Fandom, August 22nd. We've got Bizarro Superman on the picture with kind of like a Suicide Squad crosshair on his head. And we do know that there was a leaked website we covered on the show a couple of weeks ago that was called like Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League was what people thought the name of the game was going to be. So it seems like that will also be true, and it's going to be a game completely based around slaying them. So with a lot of information out there and a lot of rumors still to discuss, gentlemen, what do you make of this? Are you excited, cautiously optimistic? What side of the fence do you sit on, if any?
Go ahead, Justin.
So yeah, I think something else that Jason Schreier tweeted, because I saw those tweets, and I think the first one he was like, it's been so many years, and this is how they reveal it. It's like not even really. I mean, it is technically a reveal because it's the first time they've confirmed that this game even exists, but it's like a little confusing after so many years that
we get it whenever.
A teaser tweet like this, which I don't know. I guess that maybe we're just starting to see a shift where developers are like, this is going to leak. There's no way that we can, and it already partially has leaked in some ways.
Exactly.
So they're like, let's just clear the air and say, hey, watch this date. So from that angle, it makes sense to me. But yeah, I don't know. I probably feel like I have the same thoughts as a lot of people right now, is that I'm cautiously optimistic. This isn't what I would prefer to see from Rocksteady. But honestly, I'm not a big... I mean, I've seen a lot of comic book movies and I know a lot, but I wouldn't consider myself a comic book guy. So I don't really know a lot about Suicide Squad other than there was that really bad movie from a few years ago. But they're rebooting that now too, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah, they're already rebooting it with James Gunn. So hopefully it'll be good this time. But so it's one of those things where I'm not personally invested or necessarily interested in the subject matter, but I have faith in Rocksteady that they will make a great game. They have a great track record of making great games. So therefore, I'm excited.
I get that. I'm with you on that. Karak, what do you make of this?
I mean, so they did pick two. I would agree. They picked two groups that I don't care about: Bizarro and Suicide Squad. It is like Q team for me. It's not even B team. It's not even C team.
Wow.
And I get that other people may like it. I like the idea, you know, like bad guys being good guys because there's worse bad guys, kind of like I get the idea, but it's never been handled very well in the media I've taken in. And then Bizarro is easily one of the dumbest like superhero bad guys ever. So to me, and I'm just talking about my own personal opinion. Other people, other classic comic book people may like him a lot. I don't know. I'm just saying, again, only the media I've imbibed. So to me, I don't care, but I also trust them. I do think that the easiest and best way they could release this game would be to get a taster for us this fall and do a remake of Arkham Origins and pretend it exists. It'll never happen. No one. It's never going to happen. But no, I like these games. I just the thing about Superman, anything Bizarro or whatever, it doesn't interest me as a bad guy. It does, and I don't need to hate the bad guy. I need something in the bad guy. And my favorite stuff is good bad guys. Like when there's a good bad guy in a show, it delights me. Like I love that. It feels like there's a tangible thing to go against. And being bad guys against, like, I mean, because both those are bad guys, by the way. Like Suicide Squad is technically bad guys, and Bizarro is technically a bad guy. So what the fuck? Like, yeah. So, and then if
it
you're
could be
not
anti-hero, sort of.
Right. Because somebody in my group was like, well, what if it's not them and it's like the Justice League fighting them? And I'm like, why would you not put the Justice League on the cover then? Like that's two groups completely separated. And then you're saying you would play as somebody else? I don't know. It's more questioning.
It'd be like calling Halo the Covenant or something.
Yeah, that's
I don't know. It's like
that's a really good example. Yeah, or the Flood even right. One more step because you don't see the Flood till like multiple levels in. Yeah, that's a really good point. That's exactly what it's like. So it could be great though. I mean, they're good. We're a good dev. What have they done recently? That was my next question.
Nothing.
The VR Arkham game that was like 2016, and then
that was the last thing they've worked on.
Yeah. That's actually what I was going to ask you guys. Is that so? It's been so long.
What?
You have to imagine that. Well, was there a Schreier tweet that said, like, originally WB Montreal was working on a Suicide Squad game, and that got canceled, and then they picked this up. So when you go this long between a release, you have to assume either something went wrong somewhere along the lines,
right?
Most likely, and something got restarted,
like a Last Guardian,
right?
They took an entire gen to come out.
Yeah, apparently they're both next gen games. That's the report.
True.
They're both next gen games. Like Dustin said, they dropped the Warner Game or WB Games Montreal. They dropped the original Suicide Squad game, and I think it wasn't even they picked up. They being Rocksteady picked up the old one. They started their whole brand new one. So both these games are apparently a ways out. I imagine we will see the Batman game from Montreal sooner. I do have this interesting report as well that can kind of lead us to the next point of the conversation.
Stop.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. You just gave me some data.
Go for it then.
So there's this, and then there is the Court of Owls one.
Yes, there's going to be two separate games.
Which is from
Montreal, the Origin developers.
Okay, so my question to you is, so I'm looking here. Batman Arkham Knight was 2015 June, middle of the year 2015. So probably 5, 6, 7 years then is how long? Well, the VR game. But ignoring the VR game just for a second, because that wouldn't have been the entire studio. You're saying that this same team has done nothing since 2015?
From my knowledge, yeah. And if they had their shit on track.
Wicked. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say if they had their shit on track, because if you, comparatively speaking, you've got The Witcher 3, which came out in, I think, May of 2015. And then now we're getting Cyberpunk supposedly this November. So if they had their shit on track, they probably would have been releasing around the same time as Cyberpunk. But yeah, now that it seems like there definitely was issues. So if they did start in 2017-18, like Schreier reported, then it would make sense why it's 2022, more than likely.
Yeah.
I was about to read a snippet from this article. I'm not saying it because like Karak did cut me off.
He was about to, but that jackass talked again.
No, my girlfriend's calling me though, and I have my phone up, which I use for all my notes. So I just have like, this call is blocking me off. So we'll get to it in just a second. I apologize to my lovely girlfriend.
Take the call, Maddie. Right. Do it now.
I already ignored it. New reports have finally pinpointed Rocksteady's next game, and it's not a Superman or Justice League game. Well, not really. Sources tell Eurogamer that Rocksteady's next project focuses on Suicide Squad's ragtag group of anti-heroes, complete with online-based play and live game elements. Gamers will apparently take control over the villains as they try their best to hunt down the Justice League. Past reports said Rocksteady was working on a Justice League live game, but it turns out this is only half true. It's unknown whether or not the Justice League will be playable and whether or not the game will be some kind of good versus evil online battle, similar to something like DC Universe Online and another game we will be talking about later on in the show. But with that, online-based play, live game elements, we literally just had a beta this weekend of a game that sounds awfully similar. Keyword awful. But what do you guys make of the online play for Rocksteady's next game? Does that, because I can't say that sounds exciting to me, but perhaps I am alone.
So here's the thing. Somebody else will listen and they'll know, but Suicide Squad doesn't have a shit ton of members. So if you do a game as a service, which I think is how the Avengers is getting away with it, is the years of the different Avengers being different people, skins and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. What would the online look like to you guys? Because to me, it's about new characters in Avengers. It's about, all this kind of stuff. With Suicide Squad, it's almost like taking the Fantastic Four and saying we're going to have a service game. And you're like, but there's only 4 of them. What am I working towards? Mm-hmm. And DC Universe Online, as a fan, probably the world's biggest fan for that game, it does some stuff pretty right, which is you create your own. So do you guys believe then that this game won't be Suicide Squad as we see it comically in movie, but will be Suicide Squad as in you're making your own? Like Batman is Batman. You weren't Owl Dude. You didn't make your own. Do you guys think this one, the online would mean that there would be a character creator? And then
that'd be cool, but
yeah, that would be better, I think.
I think the only alternative they have is letting you play as the other side. So instead of having like 5 or 6 and you're limited just to that, you've got 10 to 12. Then you're able to play a Justice League and Suicide Squad game, essentially.
Yeah, right.
Or close to it. I don't know. It depends because, and we'll talk about it more extensively, but one of my issues with Avengers was that every hero played the same and they started to feel like flavor. You had the same controller scheme and approach to literally every enemy, boss or not. And so I wouldn't care if Suicide Squad said, here's 5 characters. If those 5 characters feel like 5 different, say, right, Batman Arkham combat systems where you play them all differently. And we got to remember, these are the guys who invented free flow. I do have a lot more confidence in their ability with combat systems to make something interesting and make these characters feel pretty unique. So I'm with you, Karak. I think it is a little worrisome given the small roster count. I'll have to double check the amount of members of the Suicide Squad. I want to say it's 6. But it depends how diverse they are. I always say that with fighting games. You can give me 10 characters in a fighting game roster. If they all play completely different and they truly feel like their own different kits, there's not like tiers of this is 1 speed character, this is 2 speed character, but they all feel different, then I will take that over just, say, 80 on the roster that you hit circle for every attack, and that's it. And they just look a little bit different. I'm looking at you, Jump Force. Dustin, what do you make of the live elements and all that?
I don't know. I feel like I have live service fatigue almost, just because it's a reoccurring story of trying them out. Like, depending on how much I like it, I'm invested for a little bit and then just falling away. I don't know. It's weird. A lot of people just jump from these different live service games, but I feel like I've only been able to really get attached to one, which is Destiny. And even that, I can't keep up with it. And I don't know if that's just because of the type of gamer that I am, that I'm always wanting to play new stuff and not just the same thing. So it's probably a preference thing that I just want a tight, contained campaign that once I'm done, I can either go and 100% it, or I can just move on. You know what I mean? So, and I think it's weird that we're starting to see the live service formula being applied to properties that it doesn't, at least right off the bat, make sense for. That's the thing that I keep thinking about Avengers, which I didn't get to play the beta at all. I know you guys did. So I'm curious about how those live service elements fit into that game, because it really just doesn't seem to be like two compatible things. So
yeah, why don't we I guess we can just transition right into the Avengers. So yeah, the beta is out this weekend for those who pre-ordered. Myself and Karak were both granted codes by Square Enix, so big thank you to them for letting us try out the game. I already gave a little bit of my opinion on the combat system, so one of you, if you'd like to start it off and just, you know, set the stage. I know, well, actually, I guess it would be Karak, right? Because Dustin didn't even get a chance to play it. So Karak, if you'd like to go ahead, give us some of your thoughts. So
yeah, thanks to them, you know, and this is a beta. I want to make sure that's clear. However, everything you see in the trailer is what you get, and I think it's rare. I was telling these guys prior, I think that's actually pretty rare. We say it's not rare, but it really is. Usually there's a surprise, or there's something, even unfortunately it could be bad. This game, that's not the way it is. What you see is what you get in every way, shape that you can imagine in this game. If you saw the combat and was like, it looks like you're hitting square and triangle, that is what you're hitting. Like it's so interesting. I saw somebody from GameSpot, and I'm sorry, I follow him, and I actually talked to him on Twitter, and I don't remember how you pronounce his first name, but he's one of the major writers at GameSpot, and he said it's strange that you could have such a big. He got Persona 4, by the way, and Persona 4 has this one particular part where a character says something like, it starts out so it's characters talking about school or somebody, and they say the morning starts out so, you know, busy and blah blah blah, but nothing really happens. And he actually posted that and said, that's how I feel about this game. Like, there's so much going on. It might have been Persona 5. There was a very particular screenshot he had taken and used it, and he was saying that, like, it doesn't matter what happens, it's exactly what you expect to happen. So when I was fighting a boss at the starting, it's the exact I didn't even have to look at the screen prompts to, like, for the QTE. It was the weirdest experience I think I've had, where I was playing it going, please end. Please end. And I was saying it out loud, just going like, I need this to be over. And it was only like a 45-second QTE, but it was that thing where it feels like you played it, but you haven't. You're like, why does this? It was the worst case of deja vu I've ever had.
It's literally because the design, not to cut you off, but I feel like it's because the design is something from like what we've seen in like PlayStation 2
Gauntlet games.
Yeah.
And which, by the way, is why I wanted to love this, because I love Gauntlet games. But I was playing this, and Maddie's right. The buttons are the same. It was very weird to see the skills and go, oh, so the skill is punch again. Like, that's an odd thing for this awesome character, that the next skill I buy is really just, it's not necessarily just adding a punch to the combo, but it's sort of close. It's like, instead of tapping square, it's hold square, and it does this. And customizables don't change the look of your character, which,
oh my god,
is brain numbing.
Said it for me.
I've never in my, and by the I don't want to compare it to other games, so I'll just say, but I haven't seen that in years, where you put on different gauntlets, different whatever, it'll change the color of the attack, as in now green mist will come out of my hand because it's gamma rays instead of fire. That is it. It's the only customizable that changes is the cape/skin. And I'm in awe. Actually, that was where I felt I reset. To give you guys an example of how confused I was, I reset the PS4 thinking that something had not loaded, because I was so, I've never seen that before. I mean, that's the honest truth. Not in a game like this. We've seen it in some games, but not a game like this. Not for the last 12 years. Right? I mean,
I'm just
it's like
laughing because
MMOs.
I said in my video, I thought it was a bug. I was like, I might have got
Yeah.
a bug, guys. I'm
Oh,
not
did
sure.
you?
So that's
Yeah,
just so funny.
I
You
was
reset
like,
your system.
and especially because remember that this game's gameplay cycle has been told to you that it will be customizations being the major gameplay cycle. But the customizations don't change the look of your character, only the skins do. And that's to me the confusing part. I guess there is a surprise here. I didn't know that was true. So I played it and I was surprised. And that makes me interested to know, how do you sell, if you say I'm a street vendor and I sell hot dogs, and then you go there and there's no buns, it doesn't really matter how many cool hot dogs there are. At some point, your hands are just all fucking covered in grease, right? Like, it's not like, what are you going to do? And it feels like half of it's there and the other half is not. And the combat, I've never seen levels this short. In my life. I don't know. We're talking Anthem. Well, shorter than Anthem. There's multiple mission types, and there's 2 or 3 called, they've got the little yellow, what are they called? Like drop. Something drop. Like
Drop
escort
zones, I think.
Drop zones, right. And by the way, another weird thing, the only way to win in almost all these levels is to stand in one spot so that a timer goes up, so that the enemy's timer doesn't go up faster than your timer. So I guess you're standing near a power conduit, and by standing there, you're hacking the power conduit faster than the enemy, which was really weird. But the levels are just literally a tunnel that winds off into the end.
Yeah.
For multiple levels. And I did probably 20 of the, no, I probably did, probably 20, 25 of those. And there were a couple that were longer, but not much. And then there was one story mission that was longer. But what worries me is the very thing we're being sold on is the gameplay loop, the recycling, the heroes, the upgrades. That to me feeds into a big problem. Your customizables don't change anything, only your skins do. But to get the skins, you have to go into these missions that take 2 to 3 minutes and then are just over. That to me is it could be a disaster waiting to happen. Like that, it was shocking to say the least that what I was experiencing, even in the beta, was the idea that they had. And I could be wrong. Maybe they're going to add levels, or not levels, but length to the levels. Because I've never in my life that I can remember, unless you guys can. I'll give you an example. In Ultimate Alliance, there's danger rooms, right? Is that what they're called?
Yeah.
These are basically danger hallways, but only one. So danger hallway is what these would be. And I don't know, man. I don't know what the plan is. That's pretty much what I'll end with. I'm not 100% sure what we're seeing. I mean, I hope I'm wrong. You know, it is a beta. But then I saw people this morning who, it's open, by the way. Did you guys know that? The beta's live. Yeah, they opened it early. So even though you and I still have our NDA and stuff, which we'll hold to, obviously. But yeah, it's open. People have been playing since like 9:30 this morning. And I saw a lot of people asking the same question. They're like, I don't understand what I'm playing. So that's my take.
Dustin, what do you, I guess, make of all of that as someone who's just...
Well, first of all, do you agree? Why don't you go first, and then we'll go to him? Because I want to know if you agree with all that. Do you have anything to add, Matty?
I strongly agree with everything you say. Really just to add on, because you were talking about the loop and how it fails. Yeah. I think one of the fundamental parts it really does fail in is your approach to combat, because you do have, like we talked about with Suicide Squad, the ability to shift to different heroes in those various missions. Where they fail is, for example, if you're playing as the Hulk, you'd think like maybe their idea would say, let's make destruction-centered missions. Like, let's have missions where you destroy X amount of objects. At least then you're tailoring to what this hero is about. Maybe a little cliche, but Hulk's doing something that Black Widow can't do. And if Black Widow had like stealth missions, that's where it misses the mark. Instead, they throw them all into this room. Like, not even room, sorry. Karak put it perfectly. Hallways. It's corridor madness here. And the approach to the battles is the exact same. So when you are fighting as the Hulk, You just look for that yellow symbol that tells you to dodge. You press circle, you sidestep them. Doesn't even matter if they are cleaving right through your chest with like a spear or something. It does not matter. As long as you hit the circle button at the same time, you will be fine. You will dodge it. So you're doing that with the Hulk, Black Widow, Ms. Marvel. Iron Man has a little bit of difference because he's, you can actually like shoot from his hands and fly. So he has probably the most diversity because he really has to. But it's not enough to really, when you got everyone else who's on the ground playing the exact same, it's really frustrating. So on top of the short levels, you're playing the exact same no matter who you're in. So the people you're playing as really start to feel like flavor because the skill system doesn't really build on top of it. And then you're thinking, at least I can look cool. At least I can get cool armor or something that can push me to the next level, and I can feel good about my Kamala Khan. And then you put on new bracers and they're the exact same. It's so infuriating. And I lost my mind when Karak said that he thought he had something wrong with this game and he reset his PS4. Because I straight up, you can watch my video, because by the time this podcast is live, people, the video will be out there, that I literally, I thought I had a bug. I was like, oh, it's just not loading the model. That's it.
Right.
Because there are some bits of armor that I could have sworn change what it looks like. Because in the first ever Avengers War Table, I saw them change like the bracers or the chest piece, and there were changes. There definitely were, but I think it's the really high tier items. I think that's what happens. It's the much higher tier items.
Oh,
which I think presents its own problem, because then you've got like,
it does, because there's some other stuff we have to talk about purchasing. So yeah, continue. Sorry.
No, I was gonna say, I think that presents its own problem, because those are late game items. Those are definitely in shorter supply. You gotta wait on drops. So you start to feel, and I am leaping here now at this point because I have not got to that late game. I think there's a 45 level power cap, and the beta cap's at 15. I got to 11. I was like, fuck this, I'm done. But now if you've got the game kind of holding but your loot hostage, and you're just kind of rinsing and repeating these missions, I feel like that can quickly become frustrating. That, or it's on the other end of the spectrum, they're very generous with the loot, and you're done with this thing in a snap, and you have no end game. And I feel like this game already, like when I was playing it, we've said this a lot, right? We've wondered for a while, what is Marvel Avengers from Square Enix and Crystal Dynamics? You're like, what is this game? And even when playing it, there's like 8 different ways I could carve up what this game is. Even when I was playing, I was going, what is this? Not in a derogatory way, but like, what exactly would you say this game is? I guess a pseudo Destiny with Avengers in him, and that could be cool, but now it's really looking like you're setting up a narrative here where Rocksteady can step in, and people are going to immediately say, if it looks good, this is what Avengers should have been. And I think they tried to rush out something for Avengers just because it's going to sell well. No matter what we say here on this show and on our channels, it's going to sell well, and they know that for sure.
What about you, Dustin?
What's sticking out to me particularly about what you're saying is that I'm thinking specifically like about how you said the combat doesn't even seem very engaging, right? And how and Karak, you said it specifically. One of the tenets of the game is the recycling of content, like doing the same activities.
Yeah.
Right. What's so interesting to me is that, like, thinking back, obviously they're different games, but they're going for the same live service thing. When Destiny 1 was in alpha and beta, it was like, okay, you can do these activities, you could do these strikes. And so when you're playing the alpha or the beta, you just would do the same things over and over again. And then when the game came out, there was more, but once you got to the end game, you were doing the same things over and over again. But, and that ruffled some feathers, the amount of content in Destiny and the fact there was so much recycling of content. But people stuck around because it was so fun to play that it didn't matter, right? That just the Bungie, whether it's the FPS, the tightness of the first person shooter controls and the way it felt, they really nailed that moment to moment gameplay, that it didn't matter that you were doing the same things. And you were also unlocking new gear that was not only gave you different, attributes and such, but also made you look different. And that's such a big thing in the Destiny community, is how, customizing exactly how you want your character to look. Right. So it's strange to me that, to me at least, if you're going to recycle content, then the gameplay needs to be enough to warrant that. And from both of you, it's like, what is even really happening? Like, especially, I think the thing that's surprising me the most that you guys are saying is how it's like, it's not even really a level. It's just a corridor, which is just shocking.
Mm-hmm. It's mind numbing. Like it is. And as coming from somebody who like has no problem repeating, like a game that repeats content. I have no clue what's going on. And again, I do want to say there are some longer levels, but there are many of those, and those repeat. And those are ones that say, like, here's your unlock. Now, Maddie brought up something that's vital. Maybe the customizations do change if they're high level, right? But what I saw when I was putting on, like, clothes is there was no change at all. And so if you add that plus the skill, which was weird, so that people understand, you didn't even really have a lot of combos. It was like, it's like, I'm trying to think PS4, but it's like, XX triangle or whatever. And then your next skill would be hold triangle, and you leap up and you do a strike down, right? Mm-hmm. But then another one of the characters not only had that as a skill, but the very next skill was, no lie, I think it was the same thing, but it was like, now adds an explosion to it. That's it. Now, the reason why I say that's it is because I could see those skills taking a long time to get, because there was barely any skills for each character. There was only, I think there was only 6 to 8 across, and some of them only had like 2 skills. I think the far left one had 2 or 3, right? Right?
It would like pretty much be like your square, your triangle, your L1, R1, and your L1, R1 together. So it was really like 5, and then they branched down with some passive buffs, and it wasn't enough. It wasn't the customization that you would hope for that could offset maybe some of that monotony.
And I think with Destiny, I think you're right that people played it, but Destiny is open world or open level. There is nothing. There was one level, I don't know if Maddie's got here, but there's one level you play. Snowy one? The snowy one, yeah. And it's okay. No, it's not. It looks.
Tries.
Oh man, dude, I forgot about that level.
Yeah, it tries to be open.
It does.
It like, well,
and there's a truck in the middle of nowhere, and you're just like, oh, here's a truck, I'm gonna hit it. And you're just like, what is happening on this game? I forgot about the snow level. I was gonna use it as an example of a Destiny style bigger, but there's no enemies in it.
It's so barren.
And that's another thing, the parry. So the game does something I find cool, but it doesn't do it well. Which is, you have the right trigger or right bumper that does different defensive moves for each character. Some parry, some dodge, that kind of stuff. And I actually sort of dug that. Black Widow, by the way, who was fun to play. Like Hulk, not very fun. Mm-hmm. He didn't move. He didn't slide towards enemies, so you'd punch early. And on a 3D game like this, I think there needs to be a little bit of that flexibility, like a Batman feel. Where,
like
how Batman, right? And so you're fighting, and the game does this huge flash, yellow or red, right? Or blue or red. It's red in another color. If they flash, you have to use one kind of block or parry. If it's a different color, then the normal one works. Mm-hmm. And what was it's bad.
Okay,
I'm trying to come up with something, but I don't know what's happening. I don't know what it feels like. I feel like it's broken because there's nothing there right now. Mm-hmm. If that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So I could be wrong. I don't know. I'm confused by the game. Go ahead, Dustin.
So here's my question though. So you're playing with, like, is it like a squad? Like you have multiple other people with you,
Either
right?
4 people, companions. You bring the characters.
And so each character has different abilities. Is there any kind of, like, I guess
Synergy?
I'm thinking everything is for me right now is comparison to Destiny. That's the live service game that I know. So
Okay.
I'm thinking specifically how, like, okay, you have a Titan, you have a Warlock. Each of them have abilities that can be used. Some of them are used as, a co-op move where you can like buff people, or you can do a shield bubble, or some of them are just pure damage. So I guess my question is then, if you're picking is there any strategy to picking different types of characters for different levels? Like,
yeah, actually, there is that snowy level we were just talking about before you started. They say to you, you can look at the mission modifiers, and they'll tell you like what type of attacks are going to be coming your way. And so the enemies in the snowy area were using cryo weapons, so you could switch to a cryo type of defense. I'm gonna be honest with you, Dustin. I didn't even fucking bother, and
Neither did I.
I
And
wiped
beat
the floor
it
with them. Yeah.
I couldn't beat it on the 4th difficulty, Matty. Because it'll tell you your level, Dustin. It'll be like it won't tell you your level, which is another weird thing. It'll just say you're below or above the challenge level of that level. And I think I was 11 below, and I still beat that. No, I was 5 below and beat that. The 11 below was a hard. I apologize, Matty. I don't know if you could beat that. Gamers. I didn't either. They do warn you, but I didn't switch away from cryo. One thing
I wanted to point out to the listeners with 2 bits of info. Number one, with the open, because we did get a little off track. The open snow level. What happens is, you start off in this area and you see it's instantly much wider, and you're like, oh my God, like, yes, okay, we're not in like a hallway. Maybe that was just a tutorial mission, and now things are opening up in these mission by mission areas. And it's literally, you spawn, and in this open area, they'll tell you there are stronghold chests nearby. So you chase them down, you kick open the chest, you run into these canisters with like a silver glow in the middle. When you just run into them, you don't even hit them. You just run into them, and they'll spill out resources that you'll collect. You can use these to power boost some of your equipment. And so once you're done with that, you literally move to Objective A. Nothing in between. No collectibles. No like little nods to parts of the Avengers universe. That's something that, even though Spider-Man PS4 was another game set in New York City, the way they separated it with those Easter eggs, the diversity and content in its world, I felt really helped it not just be another New York City open world game. That's something it could have really struggled with. It embraced the Marvel roots. This game only did in one particular story beat, and it felt very forced in my opinion. So yeah, like the open areas don't work because you're literally going collect chests, collect resources, objective. Collect chests, collect resources, objective B now. And so it just repeats itself on that until that level ended up slimming down to a corridor as well. The other thing, and this one's really important to note, is that in this beta, I'm reading, is not the final rate of leveling and gearing up. And they've actually accelerated, like I said, certain aspects of the loot drops and experience rate increases. So in the beginning of the game, of this demo, I got to power level 11 in about an hour and a half. And if the cap is 45, I'm not saying it's going to stay at that rate, but if the cap is 45, accounting for, mission difficulty and certain rewards and stuff, I could have logically, hit about 5 hours and capped out, which I would doubt the base game will allow you. But just know, a lot of people, when I tweeted out that this game is exactly what I feared, a lot of people were saying, well, at least the drops are good. At least you're leveling up fast. I like the feeling of that. That is just for the beta. They have accelerated those aspects. It is not for the final game, which I feel really hurts the experience. That was a hilarious discussion. That was one of the funniest talks about a game I think I've had in a while.
Isn't it weird? Yeah.
Just lost in thought?
Well, it does feel like what I experienced with Anthem, where I was questioning my own, because, usually you have confidence. You're like, this is my experience. I'm going to tell you my experience. However, when the experience is so divergent from like what the status quo is, then it causes me to go, okay, do I have a bug? Right? And then I went and looked. I'm like, that is not a bug. That is currently at least the thought process for customizables. I'm like, okay, is one room above? Oh, there's the city level, or not? It's not even a level, but there's the 3 blocks of city, as well.
That one I didn't get to.
Okay, that one's okay once, but I did it like, I don't know, 6 times. So I don't know. It's confusing because I don't know. I think you could look at it, and I saw a lot of people saying, oh, it looks good graphically. I don't know about you. I did have a good amount of slowdown, but that could have been the server. But it was pretty heinous in the amount of of impact I was getting. But it's a beta, and I'm okay with calling it a beta. I will always be okay with saying, hey, this isn't ready, technically. But like even the helicarrier, right? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, sounds right.
The helicarrier is 3 hallways with 3 doors apiece, and it's like something from a Genesis game.
It doesn't very cookie cutter in design. It really is.
Yeah, it's really weird. And what I mean by weird, even like a Genesis game, is I'm not even dissing on. I'm confused by it because I don't understand what I opened up the room and I walk in and they're like, this is Bruce. This is Bruce's room. It was a Hulk's room, and I go in and I'm like, oh, cool. There'll be something in here. And I think there's a comic book in there. But here's what's weird. I think I'm accustomed. I've seen a lot of games of all types, especially MMOs, which this isn't an MMO. It's online though. You guys get my drift. Where there's a lot of collectibles, and sometimes, especially in a game with heavy lore factor, when you get a collectible, you'll be sort of amazed how in-depth that collectible may be. For example, in DC Universe Online, when you get told about going to a place, Booster Gold does a huge presentation about that place to every place you go, and there's hundreds in the game, and the voice actor comes on, he's like, Booster Gold here, and then it does a big. Here it's a screenshot of a comic book cover with a plus 0.5% next to it. And then when you go into the stats, and this is a personal complaint of mine, you go into the stats page and it's just fucking numbers blurted out. I mean, I was looking at the stats page going, what the and it's like plus 0.01, plus 5, and they're just everywhere on this advanced stats page. And I was like, I sort of see where they were going, the crunchiness, because some people like that, but there was no visual interpretation that I could make between the item and what that plus was, or what a plus even does. For example, it would say a plus, but in the game, at least for me, I could not find a single place where the game told me what those did. And then there's no journal, so you don't know where you are in the story, which is even more confusing. So unless Maddie's found a journal, I haven't found a journal. So it was do the story mission, track story mission. I tracked it, but then I go to the place to get the mission and there's no story mission icon. Mm-hmm. And I think I found out later, you just have to do a bunch of the shit missions, and then at some point it's here's the next story mission. So there's a lot of it's not as constructed as I would assume an Avengers game would be, if that makes sense. This is your form, this is your lore, you should put a lot in there. It feels like going to a website in Destiny 1. Remember when they were like, hey man, you want to read up, and you're sitting there going, it's in a website? What? It's not in the game?
Yeah,
that's what it feels like, actually. That is what it feels like. That's what it is.
I noticed, some of the collectibles you pick up do have audio logs attached. They don't even autoplay. So I didn't know until I actually dug in there. There actually are audio logs and little things you can read. It's funny. I noticed the comic subtle incremental upgrades that you can get if you get a bunch of them. One was, as you said, 0.05, and I just really don't think any game's gotten that level of small increases in power right outside of Borderlands, where they have the badass rank, and you'll get those badass tokens and you'll do 5 or 2%, 1%, and it'll gradually increase, and you're like, this isn't doing much, but by the time you reach the end game, you now have a 10% increase if you've scaled properly and built your character right. You'll have a 10% increase in cooldown reduction. That's huge now, because now you're entering the end game, and you're going to need that. And so this game didn't really have that, unfortunately. And so, the comics are just kind of the type of nod that if you're gonna attach a stat to it, I don't think is effective enough. I'm not expecting them to put the full comic book in there, by the way, but
no, me neither. I just some writing even.
Yeah, something. And so there are a couple of audio logs, but that's really where it ends. And that's where our Avengers section will end as well, as we hit the 1 hour mark. All right, let's go ahead and talk about the PlayStation State of Play. So this was announced by Sony this week, and they dropped it on Thursday. There was a number of announcements. We're not going to do what we usually do with our show, where we just run down every single announcement. I figured for a short 40-minute show like this, it'd be better for us to just say, here's what I like, here's what I didn't like, and just talk about State of Play in general. So, Dustin, I know you didn't get to add as much to the Avengers section, so why don't you go first? Let's hear what you thought about State of Play, and if anything caught your attention at all.
Yeah. I feel like there was a lot of fun little things. Like, I saw the people that were like, they set the expectations, but I was still disappointed. I'm like, you're never going to be happy if you keep acting like that. Mm-hmm. But for me, the things that really stood out was, first of all, the Hitman VR announcement, just because Hitman 1 and 2 are awesome games. If you haven't played them yet, I think Hitman 2 is on PlayStation now, if you have that. But
one of the best games ever made.
Yeah, really, really good. But what's interesting, and something I think they said it in the trailer, is that not only will Hitman 3 be playable in VR, but they're doing all the old levels in VR too. Which,
wow.
This is exciting because I think it's so funny thinking about when VR was first coming out, and the what seemed to be the wisdom was you can't take current games and convert them into VR. That was kind of like, don't ask for converted games, ask for games made for the ground up for VR. And what's exciting now is that I feel like we've seen a lot of examples of games that have been converted from a normal game to a VR game that have been really good. Like specifically Skyrim VR, I think is totally awesome. So
all out.
I am really intrigued by this VR mode. It sounds extensive. I mean, like I said, to play, I guess the question is what does it mean to play all those levels? Like, is it going to be a VR version of those levels, or are they going to have the same amount of creativity in how you play them in the VR levels? So
is it PSVR only? Sorry to cut you off, but I've been dying to know.
I
forgot to look it up.
I don't know the answer to that. So we'd have to have someone check that real quick.
I'll look it up while you keep going. But yeah, that's one thing I was because I was big on that announcement too.
The other big one for me, at least, was Braid. Of course, the original Braid is amazing. I think it's like one of the best indie games available. And so the fact that they're going back and they're basically, it almost seems like a remake because they said they're going to and redoing all the assets. It's going to be in 4K. They're like redoing a lot of the animations. One of the other interesting things that they hit on in the trailer was they are doing a really extensive developer commentary mode. And they said they're trying to make it the most extensive developer commentary, so much that they said if you're interested in creating games that you should play this and play the commentary mode, which cool. I think is really neat. But yeah, Braid, Jonathan Blow, who also did The Witness, which was I guess announced alongside the PS4 and then eventually came out, was also good. I think Braid is better personally than The Witness. But yeah, there's a lot of other fun stuff. Genshin Impact, if you guys haven't seen that one, that's the Chinese made Breath of the Wild style free-to-play game. And I've played the beta for this, and I covered it at PAX. And this one looks like it's going to be pretty cool. I'm curious about the free-to-play nature of it, but every time I've played it, the combat and the world are awesome. So, but yeah, those were the ones that stuck out to me. So there's other great stuff. So I'll let you guys take those ones.
All right. Karak, you want to go ahead?
I would say Hitman was probably the only thing that really I was interested in, just because it will be fun to see. I don't know how they'll be played. One nice thing was I thought it was just for PSVR. It's for all VR, which is nice because PSVR I'm not going to want to play Hit at all.
It is on
Right.
VR.
It is, yeah. It's just sounds like a initial like release on PSVR, and
I can wait. That's fine.
I can wait because I'm going to tell you, I would be excited, but there is no way I would want to replay those in PSVR versus just replaying them again, because there are some quite high polygon levels in that game, and especially in the first, you have Sapienza in the first one. In the second one, you have Florida, and you have the dance party in the first one in Paris. High content that no way PSVR would be able to hit. So
it's
that
the type
excited
of announcement where I haven't, because I know you guys really like the Hitman games. I played the first couple episodes of the first one. I have not played really 2 at all outside of a little preview at E3. So like, I'm just gonna wait on this VR, man. If it's gonna do all the missions and stuff, like,
here's the thing though, that's what I was just gonna say. I don't know if you're gonna like it, Matty, because not to be rude, I love the idea, but I don't. So Skyrim works because there's no context. So Skyrim, you can wiggle death somebody, and I love Skyrim VR, by the way, but you can still do this and kill somebody. Fallout VR, I felt, was better because it was not weapons. Usually, it was guns, and that just seemed to it works a little better because you're not making physical contact. With Hitman, there is a ton of instant timing, Matty, that I am not sure. Not being able to be fully cognizant, at least with like a Pimax VR where you have the full a full FOV, because PSVR, even my reverb are pretty tight. It requires a lot of 360 like vision, and knowing if an enemy over here sees you. So I'm not saying don't wait. I'm just saying I'm not as ecstatic and think it'll be perfect as maybe some other people. It feels difficult to do, I guess, is all I'm saying.
Yeah. Did you guys see this game? There was this one game, and it appears there's some like real controversy around it in the sense of like the devs quit the week it was announced, but the game looked fucking awesome, so I felt kind of bad for getting hyped. But it was called like, I think like Aeon Must Die or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of game that is. I don't know if it was like a fighter or a side scroller beat 'em up, but that game looked
beat 'em up.
Okay, it looked awesome. Looked so cool. And apparently like the devs were not getting paid, like contracts were fulfilled, but no one was getting money, and so the devs straight up quit this week, and this trailer was like outsourced, and they announced the game this week anyway. So there is a whole story on this one as well. Unfortunately, that was one of the games that really stuck out to me. You know what game won me over during this state of play, however? I couldn't stand the fucking memes on Twitter, I'm going to be honest, but I actually thought the game looked pretty cool. It's Bugsnax. I thought that game looked pretty good in state of play. I was like, okay, like taking pictures and, using different traps and seeing how the game got really creative, and then you see them come back to their hub. You know what game it reminded me of, Karak? Reminded me of Toy Story 3 a little bit. Not gonna lie. It really did. And so I got that feeling from it, doing things in this hub area. You go back to that central town and things are changing. So I was not someone who was looking forward to Bugsnax at all. I thought it was just a cool, trendy thing to just go Bugsnax on Twitter. But it's actually it's looking solid. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's a PS5 launch game, so that'll be one I'll have my eyes on for sure. Especially because Max Middleman's in the game, and he's like some hamburger, and I thought that was just a hilarious fit. So I really do like that game, because at first I thought it was just like a kid's game, but it seems almost like an evolution of Pokemon Snap. So I'm like, all right. As someone who doesn't like Pokemon Snap, I'm about this. What else?
The Alan Wake DLC. Yeah, that's one of the other cool ones.
Karak,
dude, I can't wait, man. Like, dude, it's Alan Wake, and it's like the voice actors like stated he's in it. I mean, to me, as an Alan Wake freak, so exciting. Control has its issues, but it is still one of the better games this gen, and I want as many people to play Control as possible, even with its FPS issues, which will never get fixed on some systems. Like, that's just, deal with it, suckers. Play the game. This game is a blast. And it's one of those where I just love reading the fucking story, the internal, documents and stuff like that. And the idea that they're merging Alan Wake. And then they just hinted this morning. They didn't really hint. We have all known this, but they did hint again about like all of it in the same world, like Alan
I
Wake,
imagined.
Quantum Break, and this in the same.
And Quantum Break. All right.
Yeah.
So Jack Joyce in my life. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. Quantum Break had 2 hints in Control, but far less than Alan Wake. In fact, Alan Wake, AWE, stands for whatever the event is in Control, but it also stands for Alan Wake experience. So like they made sure shit overlapped in Control for Alan Wake, less so with
Sounds like Sam Lake.
Yeah, oh exactly right. Well, Max Payne, they all have a 1-2 sound to them. Like Max Payne, Alan Wake, Quantum Break. Like there's something very very easy to understand about their naming conventions. I can't wait. That's stoked beyond belief.
I got to get on Control. A lot of people.
Wait, you haven't played Control?
No. A lot of people.
Whoa.
Well, hold on, guys. What did I just do?
Hitman 2 and Control is really surprising that you haven't played those, dude. You'd love them.
Yeah.
You sound like me 2 podcasts ago. You guys kept being like, "Oh, you haven't played this? It's your turn."
I'm under attack. I do want to play Control. That's one that, like I said, anytime I'm on Twitch, anytime, that's the game that gets asked. It's different people every time. Have you played Control, Matty? Every time. So that's one I really want to get to, for sure.
Now, Matty, you're a huge freaking nerd who plays MOBAs. So did this auto chess announcement do anything for you? I don't understand auto chess. I've seen people play it on Twitch, but I've never attempted. I just don't know what's happening. I don't know if I'm not smart enough, or it's like MOBA. This is the next level. I don't know what's happening.
I don't know either. I thought it was just like gonna be team fight tactics or something like, or whatever it's called, like the game on mobile devices. I'm gonna be honest. Maybe there's more to it, but it's one of those games that looked like it didn't demo / trailer all that well, because I guess it has a reputation, but to me, I know nothing at all about it.
Right.
Because someone in my chat said it was like a Dota chess game or something like that. I don't know if it actually is, but that was the only semblance of knowledge I have about it. Just that it might be connected to Dota.
I was relieved that we saw Godfall again, just because it's been so long since we've seen Godfall.
Yeah, right.
At least this time, I appreciated though that this was like a deep dive. Just so
Did you like what you saw?
I don't know. It's one of those games that I think it seems promising. I mean, the combat looks fun enough, but I feel like I want to get my hands on it and then like I can decide. You know what I mean? There's nothing about it that's like, wow, you got to play this. Like feel like the world and the art style look a little bit more on the generic side, but that hasn't deterred me from games in the past if they're fun to play. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm sure you guys have talked about Godfall on this show, but probably before I was on it. So I don't know. Are you guys like hot on this game at all?
Karak, go ahead. Okay.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
No. I thought like that stuff they showed was so disappointing that I just was like, whatever. I had heard it was disappointing in my Discord, but I didn't get to watch all the the State of Play event live, and then went and looked at it, and I just I've removed it from my list of like giving a shit at all. Until the animations, everything about it looks terrible. So I'll just have to wait. It originally, we see these quick snips, and it's so easy to make something look good. And that, it's almost like when you do a YouTube review, Maddie, a lot of people, sometimes somebody will say, man, your footage is perfect, right? For what you're explaining. Other times people will be like, oh, your footage didn't explain what you were talking about at this time.
Right.
Both probably valid. But at the same time, how many times like you'll put your best shot in there, right? Your best snipe, because you did the best shot, you're proud of it, you put it in your footage. That's the way a lot of these trailers are. It's just that it's like the best headshot, and then you finally see longer snippets and you just get that dread, and it like starts to lower down more and more. That's how I felt with what I saw. So who knows? Was not impressed.
Yeah, Godfall is a game that I really like stylistically. Is that a word?
Yeah,
stylistically. You bet.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay, cool. I just kind of, you ever had that moment? You roll it off the tongue, you're like, wait, pause. Yeah, I just make up a word.
Resume, by the way. I resume, and resume.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what are they the same word? Do I spell it? And I always get confused.
Yeah. stylistically, I want to love Godfall. It looks really, really awesome. Just the design of the armor and especially the weapons. It actually evokes a memory of like Bloodborne, that feeling I got when I saw those weapons and went like, oh shit, like these are tight. I liked how they showed off 5 classes. I was thinking, man, this could be like the Untold Legends sequel I never got. The 4th entry. For those who don't know, Untold Legends is like a Diablo style game. They had 2 entries on PSP and then 1 on PS3. I think it's a really underrated series, but anyway, I thought this is what that may end up being for me personally. It's just like Karak said, the animations, they didn't like really look for the first ever announced PS5 game. It didn't really evoke any sense of kind of next gen to me. And the boss fight is what sealed the deal for me, right? Like I had this moment in my video where I was talking about Avengers, where I feel like so many devs are lost on how to do a boss fight. They just think it's pump up the health bar,
right?
Really blatantly obvious visual effects to show when an attack's coming, even more obvious windows to open up. Like, now's the attack time. Stand back, gamer. He's coming at you. All right, attack. Like, I'm so sick of these shitty boss fights, and like Godfall is what started that feeling for me, because it was really just that. He jumped, he lands, and he's wide open. Hit him a couple of times, dash back. It just didn't look responsive. And much like Avengers, I look at this game, I'm like, okay, so is this a single player game? Like, is this a straight up single player game? It seems like there's no multiplayer from what I know. So it's just a single player game with loot. And that could be cool. That could be cool if they actually have the visual differences, like we just talked about earlier, cosmetically, gameplay effects. It could be good. Because they're calling it a looter slasher. And you know what? One of my biggest ideas for Borderlands 3 before it was ever revealed, I was saying, make armor because they always do the procedural generation, do it with armor and do it with like melee weapons, and just take it that next step, because everyone knows it as a looter shooter. Take it that next step to just a looter. And so I like the idea of looter slasher. I'm going to stay open-minded to it, but it really, really went down a peg for me with this preview. Absolutely. Because that boss fight looked heinous. Terrible. What did you guys think of it was the game with the bow and arrow?
Hood?
Sliding around. Hood. No, not Hood.
Pathless.
Pathless, yeah.
Yeah.
What'd you guys think of that one? That one looked interesting.
I'm looking it up.
There was the one where you went around the open world area, you were shooting a bow and arrow, and it kind of kept your locomotion. You're like on a endless slip and slide.
Right. Yeah. This is when I was like skipping through the state of play because I couldn't watch it live. I mean, here's the thing. That's an Annapurna released game, so I feel like with them, there's a level of quality that you can expect that it's not going to be terrible. But I don't really know if I have anything to say about it other than I thought that it was cool that very flowing movement and stuff like that. But
yeah, it had a rhythm almost to it. She would get around the map really quickly with the bow and arrow. And then what's interesting is you don't aim the bow and arrow, it's about timing. So
right.
There is that rhythm. I think you hit right on the nail right on the head. So there's a rhythm, and then there were actually like bosses that you were trekking across the open world. So you're sliding, you're shooting these targets. What happened?
Sorry, I broke my mic. Continue.
You were just shooting these targets, so you're keeping the rhythm going, and you're shooting weak spots. Pathless looks solid though. I thought maybe Karak would have dug that game.
Yeah, so this was shown already at the State of Play prior, right? Or the PS5 event.
I actually wasn't aware. I don't know if
I have seen this,
and I just forgot.
And I did like. I remember this because I brought it, and it's the people who made Ashen, or not that dev, but it's that publisher. And I remember seeing this, and yes, I did like what I saw. I like it even more because I'm just looking real quick on PlayStation's blog. It looks like, yes, while you move around like that, there are actually... I thought it was an infinite runner at first when I was watching this, and I was like, no, I don't want to play that. But they did show them stop and like do a radar, a ping of some kind, like a, whatever that might be in this game. So yeah. No, that's definitely for me. Those are the kind of games that like I'll find out I like, like you'll be playing it, you'll be like, this is surprisingly good.
Yeah, it's one of those games that sat with me more than others. I at first I wasn't like sitting in my truck going like, oh wow, this looks cool. I thought, hey, this looks a little bit different. As Dustin sprints out.
Whoa, did he just sprint out?
Yeah, he just sprinted out of his room. I hope everything's all right with Dustin. That'll be a good story to tell when he gets back.
Yeah, he's at home, right, with his wife and stuff. So
yeah.
Hopefully it's like nothing bad.
Yeah.
He's
back all right. Let's get the scoop here.
You all right?
Is everything all right, Dustin?
I locked my wife out of the house. Okay,
good.
I had to go.
That's where I was like, he's with his wife, I think. So hopefully nothing horrible happened.
Yeah,
dude, like we got concerned. We're like, Dustin just sprinted out of the room, ladies and gentlemen.
And I
was trying to be quick.
I was still watching that video, and I look up, and all I see is the door shut, and I'm like, earthquake.
Yeah, it's all good. See, I thought I could get away with a quick getaway like Karak does, because Karak pulls the one and then walks away and comes back, and no one says anything, but I leave.
Yeah. Okay, you know
what?
That's
dude,
out of character.
Admittedly, I do this. You just went, see a bitch.
No, I did do that.
I didn't see this.
I did.
I didn't see the finger. I didn't see the finger,
so I was stressing out.
I could give you a different finger next time.
That's right. You know what I'm saying? You can. I would find it funny. I don't know who else.
Anyway, that would be a way to exit the podcast, is just like flick the middle finger and then get out.
Just leave your Discord camera on the whole time.
Especially from me. So if you did it, they'd just be like, he's rubbing off on him.
There you go.
Yeah. Dustin makes a good point. There's a bit of hypocrisy here.
Behind the scenes, I appear to be rude, but I'm not very nice. In front of the camera, he appears nice, but he's insanely rude. So
see, the thing is, a lot of people tell me on my channel I'm genuine, but like in real life, I've been told by a ton of people that like, I thought you hated me, dude, just because of like my natural, just like when I'm sitting here, like,
dude, I get that all the time too. That's funny you say that.
Dude, I'm just existing. Like, what do you want? I'm not gonna go kiss your ass and be like, you're my best friend.
Now when I'm listening, I think I told you that, where my bosses were like, let's do a group, what do you call them, team building. And they were like, tell us about yourself, blah, blah, blah. And I don't like those things, man. I'm like, dude, team building is built by people doing work in the trenches, not by us meeting. And we were sitting there and I said, one thing came up. I scowl when I listen really hard. And every one of my bosses in the meeting went, oh. And I was like, what? And they were like, we thought you hated us. I was like, no. If I hated you, I'd just be like, dude, get away from me. But what happens is if one of you guys is saying something very like where I'm like trying to parse, you'll see me go.
Right.
I'm not mad at all. I'm quite literally, that's me going, you have my attention. Maybe it's because I want to target you and kill you, but I'm like, what's Matty saying? And yeah, so we all have resting bitch face, basically. Right? We just all have resting. We should have that as your background one of these times, Matty, where we're all just like,
we got to update the thumbnail art to get Dustin in there, and so that just all of us, no smiles, like we're having a good time. Just everyone,
have the artists draw like the banner where we're all just like
scowling, just pissed off. Negative clicks.
Yeah, right.
All right, let's move on to another. I shouldn't have jumped the gun there. Is there anything else from State of Play that you guys wanted to talk about?
I think the only big thing that we didn't hit was Crash, but honestly, I started to watch it, but that's one of those games that I'm gonna play it no matter what, because nostalgia is, it is what it is. I have to play it. So, and I honestly didn't even want to know. I was just like, okay, and skipped ahead because they're going to show me a bunch of stuff. I want to go in fresh. So, but yeah, I'm guessing it's just going to be more Crash, which is cool with me.
I won't spoil it for you then, but it looks pretty good. Like, I'm not a big Crash fan. My first experience was actually with the Insane trilogy in 2017. And I thought it was good. I enjoyed it, but like it wasn't anything because I came from that time, but I didn't play it. But 4 actually looks really good. Like, there's a lot of variety in ways that I think you're really gonna like if you're trying to protect yourself from what's happening.
Right. Yeah, I'm not like a huge stickler. I just didn't want to sit and watch a deep dive. But the key, I think, for that game is that they justify the full price tag, since with Insane Trilogy you got 3 games for $39.99, and now you're getting 1 game for $59.99. So yeah, Hopefully it's good.
It looks like it. It looks like it. But at least if the variety that they displayed, it didn't feel like, sometimes you can get a feel when it's like this feels as if they're doing PR speak, but then sometimes it comes across more genuine, and you can actually see it in the footage, and you can start to envision the replayability with the characters and some of the modifiers they put in. It does look pretty neat, I gotta be honest. And some of the ways you explore the level, especially with like the grinding, which reminded me of Ratchet and Clank. I thought it looked awesome.
Cool.
It actually captured my attention. So not a huge Crash fan, but I think it's just a very refreshing type of game. I feel like this year needs a Crash. And I'm talking about the game, not the stock markets. All right, let's move on and talk about Horizon Zero Dawn.
Nice. I prepared for this.
All right, great.
I played not a lot.
You can start
some.
off then. It's all you, man.
I don't have a lot to say other than
He just said he prepared for this.
I prepared for conversation. Listen. I'm ready to bounce off. Okay.
Okay, I got it.
But my experience that I can talk about is short. I'm more curious talking to you guys though about the technical aspects, because this is interesting because Digital Foundry put out their video that was kind of saying this is kind of a disappointing port. It's got a lot of issues. It's not horrible, but it's not great. Mm-hmm. And then today I was on Reddit. I can't remember what the post was. I think it was someone posted that Digital Foundry video. And the first comment was mentioning you, Karak, because I haven't watched your video yet, but you're pretty positive about this port. No?
Reddit was full of shit.
Well, okay, so that person must not...
was like, they didn't, and I actually posted right after that. I was like,
oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, they were like, yeah, glowing. And then the person right below, multiple people right below them were like, glowing? What are you talking about? He talked about technical issues through the entire graphics section. I mentioned it like 6 times.
Interesting.
But at the end, I stated, it doesn't matter. I still like it.
Right.
That's all. It's just, no, it's not at all. In fact, IGN, most people had better experiences technically than I did. Well, not better. I would say I was probably in the middle ground. Rock, Paper, Shotgun even did an article today and said, I don't have no clue where people are having issues because ours was rock solid at 60. I didn't have that experience.
Right.
Digital Foundry had some really weird stuff in theirs because they even stated, we don't know if Sony knows this, but Sony, to give out codes, made you sign an embargo that states we know this, which was really confusing. Oops. And a lot of people are like, this seems like it's slightly like, it seemed weird because some of the things they were saying, they haven't said about other games. They've just said about this. And some people are like that. And that's the thing with any tech, when you dive into it, if you get stuck on one thing, which, for example, Digital Foundry admitted Alex for half of his testing forgot to put his video card in the right slot, which happens in slot 8 and not 16. This game requires slot 16, but I just released a video, a tech, I called it like a post-patch update, where I'm locked at 60. But I did not get great performance. I had 1440p is good. And then once you go to 4K, but here's the weird thing. Sony knew and stated, if you post videos, please be aware at 4K, blah, blah, blah issues, which is why, again, I was confused that Digital Foundry was like, and even Durante for IGN, Durante is the guy who made DS Fix. He fixed Dark Souls.
Right.
He got hired by IGN to do their breakdowns. Even his breakdown isn't like Digital Foundry's. He had better and worse depending on hardware. But the cool thing about what Durante did, and I mentioned both of them in my patch video, is that's the problem, is that a poor port or an unoptimized port, which is what I believe this is, it definitely has issues, is distinctly this kind of reaction where you have two people with what appears to be like for like hardware. This is why PC bothers people, by the way. This is why
I was just
people do console. And I mean, I get it. I personally wouldn't just want console, but I do understand why somebody's like, why would my 2080 Ti and my slightly faster, CPU not work as fast as Karak's? And I just saw people on Steam posting faster frame rate benchmarks than I got on lower hardware. However, you only have as much hardware as you have to test. I had 2 CPUs and 3 video cards. Digital Foundry, this is all they do. They don't even review the game. They just review their technical issues. it's technically got problems. It's no Batman Arkham Knight, which is one of the worst. You know,
that was a horrible day for me.
Yeah, and
I had to go out and buy it again.
It was rough.
On PS4.
And what's weird is mine ran pretty well, but like you could tell, and that's what happens here. 1440p. I got it locked, and I was recording at 4K on the same PC on Shadowplay.
Right.
However, the moment this is weird, guys. I've never seen this. The moment you switch to 4K, your FPS craters. Now, people might say, well, that's a jump. It is, but it's a trackable jump that I can track and go, I should know what the percentage between 1440p and 4K will generally be. It's not that. It's weird. And then like their VSync is bad, which I mentioned in my review. Like all the stuff I mentioned in my review, but no, we were laughing at, even people on my Reddit were like, or my Discord were like, dude, did that guy not watch the video at all? Because
right.
like when you rated it, you said, listen, like there's issues. That's the problem. People skip shit.
Right.
Like, I get, but yeah, it's got problems. It's still really good though.
I didn't really have that many problems. I mean, I'm running.
I know, probably had a better experience than I did.
Yeah, like my PC, I have a 2080 with a 3700X, and I was running it at 1440p. I was averaging 80 to 90 frames. So
that's way better than I was averaging.
Sounds super clean.
Yeah, and I was using Digital Foundry has their like optimized settings, so that's what I was running. But yeah, I don't know. That's overall, like, it was a pretty smooth experience. Like every once in a while when I was running through the world, it would kind of like stutter in, not a huge stutter, but just like a frame or two would jump. Mm-hmm. So it's not a perfectly smooth experience as far as, you know, that goes. But yeah, the other weird thing was that in Digital Foundry, they said something about your what is it?
Anisotropic filtering.
Yes, that I can never say that. They said to use your NVIDIA control panel to set it to 16x.
Correct.
And that fucked up my game. Like it was having like the feather in her hair wouldn't load in.
It looked like, wouldn't load in. Mine looked like crystal.
Yeah, it was like crystal. Yeah.
So that's so funny because I thought that was patched out. Unfortunately, I say funny. Right. That's not necessarily funny because you played the patched version. And so I stopped getting that error, just so you know. But I also got it, but I rebooted. I deleted the DX12 cache. I let it rebuild the textures or whatever, and it fixed. And because my grass was doing that, and
I had some grass issues too.
That's funny. Okay, so I think
once I turned that setting off, though, in my NVIDIA control panel, it went away.
Fine.
Yeah.
I think that's the big thing is with NVIDIA. Mostly, so it's strange you had it, but I would say most of the time, I find that software does it worse than the driver. So, for example, ambient occlusion, VSync, all those usually I take care of in the driver first because it just seems like the hardware is where you want to stop shit. Like, you know, you don't want the engine to try to do it. It's like, and this engine, by the way, does have one fucked up thing, Dustin. I don't know if you've seen it, but if you do the frame rate limiter in the game, it's the weirdest experience it's like, normally, if you said 60 FPS, it would get to 60 FPS. This is like a compressor on audio. It's like it won't let you get to 60 FPS. So you're at like 35 and you're all, what? And then you go into your NVIDIA, you lock it there. Perfect. Bandicam is another way you can lock your frame rate. Perfect. But yeah, that's weird. You get better experience. You get better FPS than I did. I was about 65 to 75. But what's weird is I didn't get stutters. Do you do SSD or NVMe?
SSD.
So here's my thought process. I used NVMe and SSD, and I did get some stutters on the SSD. My thought is that in a couple days, we're going to have people reporting using Task Manager in Windows, the disk usage high. And that what we've got is an issue. People don't realize this game is not like Death Stranding in that it is incredibly verdant, super lush. And what I'm thinking is that what you've got is a super high streaming rate. And if you're on an HD or if you're on an SSD that isn't like, you know, perfect up to spec, what you're seeing is that streaming engine pop.
Yeah,
that's
that
my
makes
personal
sense.
opinion.
Yeah.
That's what we'll see. So
yeah,
other than that, did you like it though?
Yeah, I mean, I I love messing around with ports on PC. Like, I don't know how much of it I'm gonna play. Like, what I played, I actually was like, maybe I will go and play this whole thing again. Just because I ended up getting it because I built a computer for Colin, actually, and he didn't care about. I got a free copy from AMD. They did it through that rewards thing. So, but yeah, overall the experience seemed good. One thing that really bothered me is the faces. The frame rate of the face animation is not the same. Is it locked at 30 for the facial animation?
It is now, admitting that it's already messed up in the original. The original, I even have a joke in my original about the little girl looking like the Mad Max kid from the original Mad Max movie. Like, she looks fucked up as a model. I'm not dissing on a little girl, by the way, people. I'm saying the model is the model, the
in-game character, almost.
The in-game character, not the model, not the person.
Right.
So, but you're absolutely right. It's locked at 30 instead of 60. So they go like.
It's so weird. I was like, man, overall,
and I mentioned that too. Lip syncing, which looks weird most of the time.
Right. But yeah, I can't complain about 80 to 90 FPS on my rig. It's unfortunate that it is weird. I mean, I think you're right, Karak, about the fact that people are like, well, Death Stranding was so good and it's the same engine. It's like the environment is completely different.
Yeah. And later, Horizon Zero Dawn was, was the original PS4, original Decima engine. I don't know what the Death Stranding guys did. But it's a weird, different style of game too. Yeah, like long, like the grass, dude, the jungle. Sounds like you haven't got there, but in Horizon, I'm sure you remember in the original game, that jungle is so verdant and so lush. And I was playing it a couple days ago, just going like, we are way next level. Like graphically, I get that people want to bitch, but when you play Horizon at night and you're facing off against a dinosaur covered in neon, and there's like thousands of tree types, it's hard not to say, damn, like we've made it, in some ways.
Yeah, I need to I was just playing on my computer monitor up here, but I really I'm going to bring my tower downstairs this weekend and play it on my OLED. And nice. I want to try to run it at 4K, but I don't think my 2080 will do it. But who knows? 1440p though is still good on a if you have a nice TV, especially. So
yeah, I was offered a code for Horizon, but I turned it down because it was it was a game that I was curious about, but I wasn't like itching to play it again. I played it in 2017. That was enough for me. It was one of the it's probably one of a very short list of PS4 exclusives where I'm just like, I really, really, really like this at launch. And the things that you guys were mentioning were a lot of things I did appreciate, like what Karak was saying about how it looks at night and its use of color. I really appreciate it. Appreciate more and more games are using their color properly. I think Horizon was really the start of something like that, because you can even see Ghost of Tsushima takes a lot of notes from Horizon. But it wasn't something like narratively I was itching to get back into. One question I had for you guys, this is just content-wise, because you know me, I was just like fascinated by your conversation because I'm not like a super tech guy. Does this version come with Frozen Wilds, or is it just it does? Okay,
it's the DLC, complete edition.
The complete edition.
Okay, that does
for
make
$49
it a little more tempting at some point down.
Because it's not even full price. It's $10. Whatever that turns out to be, $10-15 off.
Yeah, that does make it a little more tempting because I have not played Frozen Wilds. Maybe
I haven't played it either.
Maybe one day.
You guys, your gamer cards. I'm just joking.
You're taking it away.
I would just love for you guys to play it, because if you see Frozen Wild snow, you'll never want to play a snow level in any other game again.
Oh, this must have been torture.
By the way, I actually mentioned that to the people when I was playing Avengers. I was like, this is rough coming from Horizon. Not expected it to be as good. But in Frozen Wilds, the snow gets up to like your thighs and the character's animation changes and does that almost like Red Dead, Mm-hmm. And in fact, I would say Red Dead is is close to as good as Horizon, but it doesn't have Tron like dinosaurs.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Dude, you guys should replay it, man. It was like fucking game is magical. Like those late nights when you're, running towards a city and the lights are, like just perfect. And there's something about it that, to me, that's gaming. Those moments.
Pardon me. if I went back to it, I'd probably just straight shoot the story because the side quests.
You didn't like the side quests?
It's not I didn't like them. Some were good. I can't think of one off the top of my head, but I know during the playthrough I enjoyed some of them. But going back to it, I'd just play it straight up for the story. I thought that was the best part.
What about comes to mind, the combat, Matty? Did you like the combat in the original? Because this has mouse and keyboard, so
I love the combat.
Okay,
it's getting better now. Remember when I used to wear an arm brace all the time?
Yeah,
I had the black thing. Yeah. Finally I've taken it off. I've been able to edit without any type of irritation or anything. So I'm just very hesitant to hop on the mouse and keyboard and really, I know you might be wondering how I play MOBAs, but it's because I'll usually have my elbow resting on like my armchair here, or the arm of my chair. And so it's really just like my hand going like this. So it doesn't aggravate it at all. But if I were to play something like Horizon where you got to make like a wide swoop and kind of like do the full rotation in third person, it's compatible with the controller, I'm guessing. Yeah. So
I played with both. I tested both. My question was going to be, did you play? I feel like we've talked about this, but did you play that Obsidian game, Alpha Protocol?
Yeah, a while ago.
So you've played games where your range. So you played and I think Fallout does this. You can remind me, but you play games where if you aim and fire and your skill is bad, the bullet may not hit.
Yeah, Fallout does that to some extent.
Fallout does it. Okay, so
right. Yep.
Here's why I was asking you, because what's interesting, and I don't remember this being in the console version. Maybe you guys might remember, but in this game, if you turn targeting assist on, it tightens the handling score that the bow has. That's one of the problems the game has. Way too many of the same weapon. Your sniper bow, your war bow, your normal bow, and each one has a handling, and if it's bad, you can pull back and aim perfect and fire, and you'll see that arrow go off. What I liked about this one is if you put the aim assist on, all it does is tighten that handle. It's almost like it adds a plus to the handling score, which I actually thought was pretty cool because it doesn't snap your reticle. I don't know if you guys are feeling me, but I'm not a fan of taking over control from me to aim better. If my friends come over and we all want to play a game, we're all aim off, right? No, you're not using auto aim. But if you have somebody who wants to play a game, auto aim, I feel should in some way almost make the HUD bigger, the reticle bigger or something, because otherwise you're stealing control fidelity, like you're sticking the control the reticle on a bad guy. You're sort of taking my fidelity away. And I like the way Horizon did it in this one. And I don't remember if I'm just misremembering. I don't remember if the original game had that, but it felt really good because I felt like I could give this to a friend who hasn't played it. And if they're having issues, if they want to just be like, hey, just turn that on, and it won't change your feel of how things move. It'll just, your arrows will just be straighter.
Maybe that was added in a patch, because I don't remember that at all. I remember
that might just be the like PC version then.
A pull shoot.
Okay.
So, because that was one of the things is you had to have like certain arrows that would do certain things to different enemy types, and that was sort of the crux of the gameplay and why it worked so well. And so I don't remember like part of that being the accuracy in the terms of aiming, but not the timing of the shot, right? You said like if you don't time it right, it goes off, or
no, sorry. No, it's pretty much what you're saying. It's like, so you can hold it, right? And when you hold it, you would expect in real life that other than wind, your arrow is going to go where you're aiming, wind and levelage. But in this game, you have a handling rating for every bow, like 20%, 20 or 30 or 40. And the higher it is, the less drift you have. What I noticed when you turn auto assist on in this game, it's almost like they just added a plus to the handling score so that it's more where you aim it. And the reason why I was saying I like that is because I played recently in particular a lot of games where I feel like the control is being wrested from the player if they have that on. And like it's popping. I've noticed that with a lot of games. Sticky reticle is what I've been calling it in reviews. But it's like where you sweep somebody and it's almost like the bullet or the gun goes boom, and it doesn't feel as smooth sometimes. It feels like that's what if I just wanted to hit him to stun him and move to the next guy? You can't, I don't see it much, and it's not a big deal. It's just I like the way they do it, and I hope we see more games do that.
I think the handling was on the base game. I didn't think of it like that. I thought it was a completely different thing that you explained.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
No,
the snapping, that's a very like Call of Duty campaign thing. I played the beginning of Modern Warfare 2, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot how when you play campaign, it'll dart across the screen when you aim down sight. It's crazy.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's almost like a third-person game when if you have push down on the thumbstick, it'll aim, and your camera sometimes will do that.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why it's off all the time for me, because it make me sick because I won't be prepared for it. But yeah, all right.
It reminds me of how I felt when I was testing Watch Dogs Legion. And I just came off The Last of Us Part 2 where there's no aim assist unless you want to turn it on. And so you have this very real feeling third-person shooter. I love how that game plays. And then you go to Watch Dogs Legion where I just sit in cover, you tap LT, and then you pop up and your reticles, boom, right on someone.
Right.
Shoot, drop, pop up, shoot, and just... I literally I beat The Last of Us the night before, and I went to that game. I was like, holy shit, this gameplay is behind.
It was aggressive. You'd want to have that off for sure in that game. I forgot that definitely happens.
Yeah, dude. All right, that's our last topic for the show, and now we move into the patron questions. I'm gonna read some of them out loud to you early on here just to make sure I get to the right one, because you guys did them last week, right? And so we'll just pick up where you guys had left off. Let me just open up Discord here. Podcast questions. This is from August 4th, so I think we can start there. Wait, no, we got Dustin and I will be doing it. All right. Did you guys answer from Dow? So now that PS5 is almost here, favorite PS4 exclusive?
We did not get that one. So everything.
I think we skipped all of them. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool. Perfect. So it says that we have 13 new messages here. Looks like it'll be a good time. So let's start off with Dow's question. Now that the PS5 is almost here, do you gentlemen have a favorite PS4 exclusive? And then Grimblade adds, building on Dow's question, favorite game from each platform from this generation. You can include PC if you want. So we'll do both those in one shot here. We'll start off with the PS4 exclusive.
This is rough.
Well,
because for me, it's
choice, Dustin.
It's either Persona 5 Royal or it's Bloodborne.
Yes.
They're just so different that it's hard for me to pick. My gut though says for so long it was Bloodborne, but now that Royal's out this year, it's like a conundrum now, a recent conundrum.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm gonna say, for the sake of the audience, that Bloodborne. That's the one that I think that everyone should check out because it's real good. What about you, Karak?
Hang on. Somebody's asking me a question.
Oh no! Now I'm left here alone because Maddie walked away.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, I'll keep talking.
I'm back.
I'll keep talking. Okay, if you're back,
No,
that's
go
good.
for it.
I could talk about Persona 5
and Persona.
Right.
Those were your two.
Those are my two for PlayStation. Yeah.
Real quick, do you think we're gonna get a Bloodborne 2, or do you think that those guys are the kind of company that will they don't return unless they want to? Does that make sense?
I think Sony wants a Bloodborne 2 very badly, but I think that deal came from a different era of From Software that they don't need to do unless the money is there from Sony. I just don't know if they're interested in locking off their content on one platform. Though, I mean, who knows? Maybe they're would like to from a studio, and maybe Miyazaki wants to return to that world. That's the thing, though, is the story is contained. I don't know if from a story perspective,
from start to finish, is contained. Do you think?
I think so.
It's done, or can be done.
Yeah, I don't know. I personally would love Bloodborne 2. That's my dream. Actually,
please.
I don't want to ask for too much. My real dream first is Bloodborne on PC, just because the PS4 version is unfortunately not good. But I love it with its flaws. But man, a PC version would just be too good.
With mods?
For me, I would say it's just pure enjoyment. I mean, Horizon, man, I've really liked, but I would say for just, man, Ghost of Tsushima. So Ghost of Tsushima or Spider-Man, but I think now that I've played, I think Spider-Man has this awesome nostalgia, but Ghost is fucking, it's my jam. Like, I don't know how to,
good game.
dude, and it just feels nice and different. Not so different. I'm not being an artiste. I just mean it's different enough to feel unique amongst everything else, including Spider-Man, which is still an open world third-person game. So I would say Ghost is mine.
I would say when you know, because people are very quick to put the PS4 open world third-person games into a real tight basket and say like they're all kind of the same. I'd say Ghost is the most different out of all of them.
Yeah.
The gameplay and the objectives you have on the map just alone.
Yeah.
And how much it banks on the Samurai Code. Yeah. That one, my top three, because like, you know, for a while it was Bloodborne, then Spider-Man came around. I am biased on that one. I adore Spider-Man. Favorite superhero my whole life. So to get an actual legitimately incredible game, not just a good game. There have been good Spider-Man games, but to get an incredible one, that meant a lot as just a lifelong fan. But I'm going to go with Persona 5 Royals because that's a no-brainer. I think that's the best game of this generation. I really do. I think it's better, like, for comparison's sake, like, you know, games that are up there for the generation are like Bloodborne, The Witcher. Like, I just think Persona 5 Royals handedly better than, in the terms of design, than all of them. And the way it respects your time and maybe not in its length, but what you're doing and how much you can do and the options that are offered and the character depth. And of course the third semester, it is hands down my favorite PS4 exclusive. That's why I stormed out when Dustin just made the wrong choice. I was not going to sit here and listen to his opinion after. I had to urinate and I said, that's my time. I don't need it.
Expel
I had to make a scene. Right. I just can't handle another opinion. Let's continue with Grimblade's question on now we got each major platform. So we've got Xbox. That's gonna be a tough one for me to answer. We also got Nintendo. So Nintendo's generation technically continues on, but we'll just do for that. What's our favorite exclusive from Nintendo on the Switch thus far?
Rabbids.
Fuck yeah.
Ooh, Rabbids. I did not expect you to say that.
Yeah, man. I go between that and Astral Chain now. I really like Astral Chain, and that is one game I do go back to still. I'll say with Rabbids, I went back once or twice, but Astral Chain, I go back just to play because I love how that game plays. I think it's one of the best action games. So I'm going to go with that one.
For me, I'm going to say, I'm a little conflicted. I have to go with Breath of the Wild. Okay. Not that I even think that it is like the best open world game. There's some people that are like this, they rewrote the book on what open world games need to be. I don't think that. In fact, I think there's a lot of problems, but there are certain moments in that game that while playing, I'm like, wow, I've never experienced anything like this in a game. At least the feelings it gave me. And so I don't know. I'm really excited about how they can refine the new open world style of Zelda with Breath of the Wild 2. So
yeah, there's just so much detail in that game. It's insane.
It's my gut. If someone gets a Switch, I'm like, you got to get Breath of the Wild. Like that's just,
and that's incredibly true. The attachment rate, Karak and I had a number one time on an episode. I think it's like 70 or 80%, or it might be even higher than that. It is an insane attachment rate to the console.
I believe it.
Like if you buy the system, you're getting Breath of the Wild. I really like the game, but then I watched my girlfriend play and just, she went like all, I played, I beat the story. I did some side stuff, but like she loves that game. It's probably her favorite game of all time. And like she went all in. She's getting like all the Karak seeds and every secret, every quest. And she's just showing me pictures and I'm watching her play. I'm thinking, holy smokes, this game's got more than I thought. And I kind of like felt bad for myself. I went, damn, I have no creative bones in my body. If I couldn't, like, I didn't go deep at all in that game. It looked like it was really a weird feeling. So yeah, I really like that game. Xbox and Grim said we can include PC. Now, since Xbox and PC are slowly becoming synonymous, I say we should allow a little bit of a crossover here because Xbox's exclusive releases are a bit barren. But gentlemen, if you were to make a selection,
Ori,
I don't know, Karak and I are on the same page. Will the Wisps or Blind Forest?
First one. Second one was great, but
okay.
I feel that I wasn't as big of a fan of the different weapons. I thought one was just sort of like that lean, mean fucking platforming machine where my brain was just it was fucking it was Bob Ross on acid as a fucking little glow-in-the-dark creature. Everything about that game will always resonate with me for the rest of my life. Like, in fact, above almost every other game I've ever played. At least, like, eye-brain connection.
Yeah, that
amazing.
The second Ori story got me more, but
did it?
The first,
I can see that.
for sure. But the first Ori, my issue with the second Ori, it probably would have been that one. But my experience during the review process, my first like 4 hours were just frame ratey.
Frame ratey, I forgot.
Horribly,
that was another one, wasn't it?
And it's a testament to how good the game is because I still recommended it when I finished, even though half my experience was like choppy. I still said this game, they're gonna patch it. I just got a bad version. It's really good. Give it a shot. Yeah. But I will say for my own experience, the first one, because the first one, like just the pixel perfect platforming, the chase sequences, it just felt really good. I like how they expanded the mechanics in the sequel, but I'm with you. The first Ori for sure.
Dustin?
For me, man, I guess it's been out on Switch for a while, but I would have said Cuphead a few weeks ago, which I know is kind of a weird, it feels like a cop out since it's not their first party, but that's just, I love that game. I've played it. I'm almost done with playing it on PS4 now again. And I own it on, I bought it on Xbox and I bought it on Switch and then I was like, fuck it. And I bought it on PS4 also. It's just a game. And it was one of those things where I've gotten so much.
Not their first party either, Dustin.
That's true.
So it's totally fine. Continue.
I'm in line here. So, but yeah, it's one of those games that I just love so much and that I've gotten so much enjoyment out of it that I just was like, it's very rare that I'm like, here, take more of my money simply just because this game is incredible. So yeah, awesome. I don't know if it counts because now it's on PS4, but if a backup option is Sunset Overdrive. It's really cool.
Holy shit, I forgot about that one.
I thought that was the joke, Matty. I literally, you talk about it all the time. I thought that was a joke when you said, I don't really have one.
Holy shit.
I was trying to figure out. Oh, okay. I thought that was sort of a joke, and that maybe
Ori.
Ori had like beat out Sunset Overdrive.
Holy fuck, Dustin. Yeah, holy shit. Yeah. No, I'm sorry. I have to restructure. I'm sorry, Ori. I'm sorry, audience, as I'm a very flippant lover of games, but holy shit, yeah. Sunset Overdrive is fucking awesome.
It was so long ago.
I mean, at this point, really was. I thought it was another. I thought for a second it was a 360 game. I can't lie.
Can you guys believe also it was so long ago that you could basically say Titanfall 1 could have been our choice because that was exclusive to the Xbox too?
Yeah.
Like, that's how long we've been playing games.
Wow.
Titanfall 1 was exclusive. By the way, also sold better on just the Xbox then too. On all platforms. Which goes to show you, don't release your game at the wrong time, dumb bitches.
Yeah.
Because that's all
Titanfall
that was
2
about.
was so good.
Single player was short, but very good.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah, Sunset Overdrive.
You guys in your Sunset Overdrive. Jesus Christ.
I just think it's actually why I appreciate Spider-Man so much, because a lot of the movement in Spider-Man builds off of what Sunset Overdrive had. Like the wall running, the wrapping around walls, the dashes in air. Like, if anyone likes the movement in Spider-Man, you will like Sunset Overdrive. Sunset Overdrive just lets you grind on rails. There's, like, bouncy castles everywhere for you to just, like, skyrocket yourself. It's all about movement. You're never touching the ground in that game. It's such a good feeling. And then you've got, like, the Ratchet and Clank weaponry. I know there's an issue with, like, how the deal works, but if somehow PlayStation could ever extract Sunset Overdrive and get it onto their platform, they could literally market that as like a big exclusive for them, because I guarantee that game did not sell well, because that was like at the beginning of Xbox, right? Like that was
it was really pretty early on. Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people missed out on that. That's available on PC, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah, it is now.
All right. So at least there's that, but fuck, man, that is a great game. I really want to go back to that now that you mentioned it. Whew. Thank you, Dustin.
Maddie's out of breath. Just from the sheer mention
dude,
of...
did you not see? I actually recoiled in my chair when you were like, Sunset Overdrive. I'm like, dude, that was out of my mind. All right. Question for all three of you. This comes from Jake K 1107. Are there any games you find challenging but attempted to complete everything it has to offer? This includes trophies, achievements, etc. And were you successful? I've been an avid watcher of Gerard's contents, the completionist, for years, and the topic of his recent video was Catherine Full Body. And after watching it, I decided to take on the challenge. Good fucking luck, Jake. Holy shit. That is one of the hardest platinums. That might be the hardest platinum trophy to get, because you got to play that game like a lot of times. A lot of times.
For me, I probably Bloodborne, because I got the platinum for that, which I think there's technically there's a little more Chalice stuff that you could do, but I don't know. For me, if you have the platinum, most times I feel like that you've extracted pretty much everything the game has to offer. There are exceptions to that, of course. I'm looking at my platinum list now, but someone else go while I'm looking.
What's funny is mine isn't a game I even liked. I've talked about it a lot, but I'm about to document the full story of my time with the amazing Spider-Man 2 on PlayStation 4. So we're talking about a game here with one of the worst open world designs ever. But because
Yikes.
I am a lover of Spider-Man, I'm like, I've got to play this. And now I was 17 or 18 at the time, so you know, there's a little bit of the ability to shut off your brain some more, I think. And you know, they had a good combat system, I thought, but the game was about 5 hours long, and then I beat it and I had nothing else to play. So I thought, all right, I spent $60 on this. Let's make it work. What can I do? And I look at the platinum trophy. It's at like 2%. I'm thinking, I hate myself. I'm going to do this. So I decided to go for the platinum trophy. You had to beat it again on the hardest difficulty and then unlock all of the suits. Now, the issue is the game is so short and the content in the open world space offers so little reward that what I did was I went to the final mission of, I think it was the prison escape level. For those who have played this game, you may know what I'm talking about. I went to the prison escape level and I redid it for 4 hours straight. 4 hours straight until I unlocked every suit in the game. And after, like, I think it was in the scheme of things, it was a 20-hour foray, right? But when you look at a 5-hour game, I beat it so many times. I went through it up and down. I did everything that game had to offer. So yes, I have taken on that challenge.
Suffering right now,
and I don't know why I fucking did it either. I literally, and by the way, and this is not for like hyperbole to make the story more sizzly, I platinum trophy popped. I stood up, eject. I literally, like, I didn't celebrate. I said, thank God it's over. And I moved on. Because you know what platinum hunts, like I had it with Ghost of Tsushima. I finished the game and I was about like 65%. I went, I'm too deep to just not go for the plat here. And I did. I love that game though, so it was a little bit easier. But I had that moment with that game and it was the wrong time to pull the trigger. So that's my story.
I don't have one.
Dang.
I hate everything about achievements and platinums. I want them destroyed. I want them nuked as
quick
as possible. I don't even like tracking. I just realized this. I was doing an MMO, Star Trek Online. It's got the thing where like you can collect documents about the Kobayashi Maru or something. There might be 12. Fucking when I see 1/any number, I just want to kill the developer. I want to kill him. I don't like. I think it's the worst game design in the world. I think that adding achievements and platinums are starting to infect game design way too much.
I think it's the same with like Game Pass and that stuff too.
Yeah, I hate it, man. I was having people play Barbie on the 360 because it was an easy. I don't know if you guys remember this, but it was considered an easy, whatever the term is for the Xbox.
Yeah, 1,000 gamer score.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, that's what it was. They ought to equal 1,000 on the Xbox, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure that's when I learned how to turn it off because I didn't want it.
You learned with Barbie?
I'm pretty sure it was Barbie. Yeah, because I owned Barbie. I bought Barbie.
Oh, really?
Oh, fuck yeah. I bought Barbie. Dude, 360, I bought so many games that like a normal person would be like, why is he buying that? Because we just played games. Like, that's why I say when I review, I play far less games than when I didn't review. And it usually surprises people. But dude, to say I took in games would be an understatement. Like nobody would understand. And we aced Barbie, dude. Which stupidest games, Maddie, we would just be like, I don't even know how to describe it to you, but would be like, okay, Friday, you're staying the night or you're coming over. We go to fucking the buffet. We get food. And it's like, we're going to play till 3 a.m. We're going to go to sleep until 6 a.m. We're waking up. We're shaking the crust off. We're going to play from 7 a.m. to midnight. Then we're going to go to sleep. We're going to wake up Sunday. You'll stay the night because I had a friend who would always come on a trip. And it's like, and then you go home at 6 p.m. Sunday. So we would just do like, 36 hours every weekend of every game.
That's
it was
fucking
stupid.
awesome.
It was a blast with him. It wasn't because of the game, mind you. But I think that's when I learned how to turn those off, is when I started seeing them be brought up so often. And I love that people like them. I don't like seeing numbers. I don't, quests, when that pops up too. It's like, get me 12 elk livers, and you're like, I've killed 45 elk. Do some of these elk not have livers? Like, why did I not get 45 elk? I don't like collection stuff, and I feel like achievements are like that for me.
Yeah,
I know you guys like them.
I love them.
They do something. I just don't know why.
I used to love them. I've grown away from them because I think it's just too much frustration, and I could tell that it was starting to affect my choice in what games I was going to play. Because and then I was like,
you'd look it up early or something?
Well, I would be like, oh, what do I want to play next? Ooh, I should look at the trophies. Ooh, that's going to be a really hard platinum.
Right.
And I've like something clicked in my brain, and I was like, that's not, that doesn't seem like a good way to enjoy games.
Right.
So
I get that. Yeah. I used to play based off the platinums, or just, I sometimes even want to get the platinum. I just wanted to get the trophies and just get whatever I could. I just like the feeling of the trophy popping, and I did step away from it to an extent, but like I do look still to see what platinum can I get. Like Ghost of Tsushima, when I looked and I saw, okay, complete the story, do a couple of things in combat, pretty much clear the entire map. Okay, if I like it enough, maybe I'll go for it.
It's a lot in that game.
It is, yeah. It's one of the very few games, though, that acknowledges your 100% completion and actually gives you like a little blurb after you've popped the platinum trophy. I thought that was really cool. I appreciate that, because sometimes you do it and you go, you have that self-contained satisfaction, but the game never says something like, hey, you went all this length, and that's pretty cool. So I really did appreciate that. But as I've gotten older, yeah, I as Karak said too, I play games less because I'm reviewing them and I'm working on them constantly. It's sometimes after talking for 8-9 hours, sometimes I do want to go home and, maybe just play League as a mindless game or watch a show, but sometimes I just don't want to invest in a story. I'm also I call it like a pacer. Like I burst games now, and I don't want to rush for
I don't know about you, Matty. I get excited though about something that is related, just on me, that's related to this, but not something I ever seek out or even know about. When the Xbox does the little crystalline rare achievement, or a rare, what is it called? I don't even know what they're called. Yeah, there's achievements on the Xbox, right?
Yeah, it's the ones that are like percentage based. You get
right. So I'll be doing it, and sometimes it's for review, so it doesn't matter because you're just first. But I'll go back to an old game and I'll like be playing it, like Dead Rising 4. I was playing, and it was like, it sounds like Crystal Break. I love that it's that saccharine, really high, like like shit breaking, and then it was like Crystal, and it tells you like 0.0001% of people got this, and it's always random. I've never been like, oh, I want this, but that I do admit is like that. I'll go, whoa, what? I turned them off, so I don't get them anymore. In fact, I think Dead Rising was last one, but I can see that part. Not searching for them, but I can see getting them. There is something cool hidden. Like I got something hidden that feels cool about it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's just a good feeling about it, I feel. Do
you feel the same way when you win a game?
Yeah, it depends on the experience, too. I guess I have like two quadrants in my brain, because that's a really good question. There's certain ones, like we'll say like Fall Guys, because it's a BR title. Like when you win that, there's a certain like, I feel great, versus getting the hard work trophy almost, like where you're just, you've gone to the ends of the earth in this game to do it, because it's always that extra investment. My thing with platinums now is, part of the reason I don't go for them is sometimes it would keep me from not making the healthiest decision for my business. Like I would sometimes stick with a game and try to platinum it instead of what would be smart, moving on and starting the next game to get coverage ready for my channel.
Right.
And part of it is that constant, because people always ask this question, like that constant tug of war on both ends of your brain where you're like, play like a normal gamer, play for your channel. And so I go back and forth on it. Sometimes I feel comfortable saying I'm going to do this for my channel. And sometimes, like with The Last of Us Part 2, I'm like, I'm going to fucking play this when I want because this discussion's, it's not worth my time anyway.
Yeah, I got you.
So, yeah. Let's see here. Next question. It's just for me. So I'll make it quick. Skooma Vendor says, mainly directed at Maddie, but obviously open to all. So if you guys pay attention to hockey at all, by all means. Now that the Rangers are out, who is your favorite to win the Stanley Cup? I'm going to be honest with you, Skooma. I wasn't particularly invested in the NHL when it came back. I watched all the Ranger games, but at this point, it's because it's pretty much a brand new season at this point. They literally shut things down for a while. It is the playoffs, but it's a brand new season because the Rangers were like the hottest team in the NHL. Then the season shut down. They came back. The Rangers were terrible. So I just think it's anyone's game. Literally anyone could win this. The team who beat the Rangers, Carolina Hurricanes, they could win it. So that's my answer. Not to dodge your question, Skooma, but I just genuinely think anyone could go and just take it. I would love the Oilers too. They're my second favorite team in the league. Do you guys watch hockey at all, or should we just move on?
I watched the Long Island. What's it? The Islanders with Colin briefly because he was like, I had to watch it, and I don't even know what's happening, honestly. I was trying to figure it out. I was like asking questions. I was like, so I'm trying to remember. I was like, he looked like he shouldn't have made that shot. And Colin's like, well, you actually want to distract the people when they're going for the ball. I was like, looked fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, okay.
It is very fun. Schizo Adept writes in, what was the game that inspired you to get into gaming/gaming becoming your passion? Mine is Golden Sun on the Game Boy Advance. That's a great game. What got you guys into this?
Into gaming as a whole?
Gaming as a whole.
Gaming as a whole. I didn't know if it was gaming as a whole or gaming as a profession, whatever, as part of our profession.
Yeah.
Huh.
I can go first if you guys want me to.
Go for it.
For me, it was Munch's Odyssey. It was, because I played games before that. I played games on the N64, like, I remember like Donkey Kong 64 was one that comes out in my head. Pokemon, of course, Pokemon Stadium. That was where things really started off. But it wasn't until my dad and my mom got me and my brother for Christmas a original Xbox, and it came with Munch's Odyssey as one of the launch games. And I have very fond memories of, my family really doesn't play games. Like when my brother plays video games, it's old sports games now. Like he gets nostalgic over that, so he'll play like All-Star Baseball 2002 on the 64, which I think is cool. But like, they were never as enthusiastic with me, so it's kind of significant in my mind that like I played a story / platforming game with my dad. And Oddworld's always been one of my favorite series, but Munch's Odyssey was the game that got me into it because part of it was doing something with my dad, but the other part of it was that is just such an interesting and different universe from anything I could have fathomed as a kid. And it was this mixture of anyone who's played Oddworld games knows what I'm talking about, where it was like very goofy because you had like the game speak, how the old Oddworld games had the game speak on the menu, and you could like go into there and like have a burp or fart, and you're like, why is this here? But this is like, as a kid, I'm like, this is hilarious. So yeah, like that combined with the shit that the sligs would say to you, and how the levels were designed. I just love going back and playing that game, seeing if you could save all the Mudakin scrubs in every level without anyone dying, getting the best karma, or doing like a bad playthrough. It just had like depth that I didn't expect. It was a really cool game. And of course, KOTOR. KOTOR was my first ever choose your own adventure game, as I called it as a kid. And so that was pretty fundamental, but it was definitely Munch's Odyssey for me.
I mean, the thing is my brain keeps going more towards like first game I remember playing, because I think I liked games once I played my first game. If that makes sense.
It was like an immediate thing.
Yeah, because I mean, what? No, actually, I don't even think a game's the right answer. It would be, I remember distinctly my dad getting an Atari 2600 for Christmas for us, and that was expensive because every alternate year we would be really poor because of my mom's job. So it was like we had really, really insanely poor years and then fine years. They were never like super rich, but that was a good year. And I remember that was back then. It was 200, by the way, guys. So not necessarily a huge, increase in price when you think about it. It was 199, but I remember getting it and just being like blown away, like just, oh my God, what is this? And playing Asteroids, it didn't look as good as a arcade Galaga or whatever, but it was so cool to move something on the screen. And I think it was right then. I mean, I'm pretty sure it was the moment I played that where I was just like,
wow,
I love games. Yeah, and from that point on, and very tech. I took apart the Atari 2600, which to my dad's chagrin, I never put back together correctly. He was fucking...
Oof.
Yeah. Luckily, we had it for like a year and a half, but I took it apart because I was like a mad scientist, and I wanted to figure out how the games worked already.
Oh, dude, that reminds me when my brother had the Sega Dreamcast, he got a new album from Ludacris, and I knew that the Dreamcast could play CDs.
Oh, true.
So I'm just like, I'm going to play a game and listen to music. So I take Sonic Adventure, then I take Ludacris. Boom, they're both in there, and we're going to close the disc drive.
Oh, no.
Fucking A, that's crazy.
I am surprised my brother never just beat the shit out of me, because between that and he got a collectible card box one time that he was like, I'm just going to stash this away and I'm just going to save it. And what do? I take a red marker and I write the rating on every player on the box. I'm like, this guy's good, bad, great. And he's like, who did this? I'm like,
who else would it be? It wouldn't be your mom.
More like he was in a traumatic moment. It was shock, awe, as I just delivered some really poor writing on his card box,
that's
man.
Amazing.
Those were my two worst moments as a kid.
Dang.
They really were. Dustin, what got you into gaming?
I think I'm kind of along the lines of Karak, only I don't remember playing my first video game because I was playing video games like literally there's a picture of me playing Sonic and I'm like in diapers, like a very little, and I didn't know what I was doing, but I was, it was a fun character on the screen. And so my mom tells a story that like I was on the computer playing like kids computer games before I could even talk really. And I would say things, I'd be like, Mom, will you click me a drink? And say things like that. So like, playing, there's like all kinds of like crappy kids games that I'd play on computer. Like one of them was called Toonland, and it was the voice of the main character was Howie Mandel from Deal or No Deal.
I remember that game.
Toonland, dude, with Howie Mandel. Yeah,
that's crazy. I remember that game. That's crazy.
Yeah. So it's one of those. I like, for the earliest for me was definitely Sega Genesis for sure, because I remember playing like Turtles in Time.
Fuck yeah.
And that game, was awesome. And then, it was kind of weird backwards for me because I had a Sega Genesis, and Karak, kind of like you, it was weird. Like growing up, I found out that we were more on the poor side, but my parents hid it really well for me and still was able to provide really well.
Yeah. So
it was weird because for the one Christmas I got an NES, because then it was like an NES was dirt cheap.
Right.
So I was like intrigued by it, but it was a weird backstep from the Genesis in the same way. So it's weird that even though I wasn't a child of the 80s, I grew up playing Sega, and then I played Mario 1, 2, and 3, even though it was well into the 90s, just because of the way that worked out.
Dude,
but
that's awesome, because it reminds me of what happened with me when I got my PS2. I played it 2 years into like 3 years actually into the 360 PS3 generation. Like I didn't pick my stuff up until 2009. So I had the same exact thing. I was still playing like Final Fantasy X and Kingdom Hearts 2. Like it was no problem. So it's funny you mention that. Yeah, we were gaming backwards. All right. Next question comes in from Natural Calamity. He's got 3 for us. Number 1, I just bought Doom Eternal and it has been the fastest game I've ever experienced. It's a heart-pounding experience. So my question is, how the hell am I supposed to finish this game without getting a heart attack? Real question, where do you think they should go next? Well, they just announced at QuakeCon the Ancient Gods DLC campaign thing. So there is more on the way. So that is where they're going to go next. And I hope they just stick with Doom. It works really well. Yeah. They have enough power with that franchise where they literally forced Bethesda into a delay, which, with 76 in Bethesda Game Studios, which was their top developer, I think it says a lot that Doom Eternal was able to squeeze out a delay and then be very successful. So if you guys want to add anything onto that, by all means.
Yeah, I think they'll do a Doom. Well, I guess it wouldn't be Doom 3. They'll do Doom subtitle something. Yeah. But yeah, I think there's still more things that they could explore in that franchise. Like, I don't know, maybe this is just me, but I think that some kind of co-op mode would be really cool. Just chaotic. I love the chaos of that game out. Give me more chaos. So
yeah, that's why I didn't like battle mode. That's their multiplayer mode for those who've never played. And I think I'm in the minority on this, by the way, but I really like the arena kind of multiplayer from the first, like, Doom 2016 from id. I thought that was really fun because it gave me that chaos from the single player campaign, but I didn't have to go and just replay the same level over and over. Even if that's fun at times on higher difficulties, eventually you just want to have a different experience, and what better than other players with that same speed, weaponry coming at you. But in battle mode, you're playing as demons, and I feel like I never had a moment in Doom where I said, I want to be the demon. I want to fucking crunch them. That's what I want to do in that game. And so I would have just loved if they in the next Doom added that back in. If you want to keep battle mode, by all means, but I would really like for them to bring back that type of multiplayer, because I beat Doom Eternal. It's a fantastic game. So good. But once I beat it and I went to the battle mode multiplayer, I was like, all right, yeah, this isn't that great. All right, I'm moving on. And that was it. I moved on from the game.
I would agree that they're going to do that. I do think they'll probably... I think that they made a huge mistake, and I still don't understand how this happened, where they basically said, hey, here's a spaceship, and then 3 levels later, like, spaceship's gone, and you spend the rest of your game without your base that you sort of work to unlock, which I felt was just fucking weird. I have a feeling they're probably going to do more stuff like that. I would like them to fix the jumping. I didn't hate it, but I can see why a lot of people complained about it. And I was not one of the people that complained, but I see the complaints as pretty justified. Mm-hmm. And there was some jumps at the end. I don't know if you guys remember, but there was 1 or 2 jumps at the end of Eternal where I was like, motherfucker, man. Like, this doesn't feel like... It was starting to feel more like Mario, really hard, than it was like a good, fast Doom game. And I would like to make sure they don't do that again. That would be the most important to me.
I have to exit the room again because this time my wife locked herself out. She doesn't have a key because of vacation.
Again? Twice in the same show?
Yeah. So, all right. I thought I'd warn you this time so you didn't think I was like my house was on fire. Okay.
Thank you. All right. We'll move on to question 2 in the meantime. When you watch the way events are going this year, it's hard to think companies will go back to E3 when this is less preparation and by a large margin less money to set up. Do you think we will go back to big conferences like E3 and such?
Yeah, it won't be. I don't think it'll be right away, but I mean, now that I don't know if you're seeing this, Matty, but I've actually noticed a couple people who were originally really happy there was no E3 actually starting to say things like, man, I wish there was an E3.
It's the structure of E3 that people miss, I think. It's the
structure, yeah. And it's crazy that I think E3 feels separated enough from the business for the people who run it that you don't feel like if you're going to show your game at E3, you're sort of showing it to a specific person. Instead, you're like, we're going to this place and all these event organizers can come if they want and play our game. What's happening now is you have like IGN saying we're doing our own version. And then you have kind of funny games. They're like, we're doing our summer group of games and all. And I think that closes off your fan base, because here's the thing that's weird to me. E3 is a location, and then everybody covers the game, and you choose which of those groups to watch their coverage for. But that is exactly the opposite of what's happening now. So kind of funny games, if you don't like them, which is your right to not like them, that's the platform. They are that game's E3 possibly. And so you may just see that game there. And if you don't want to see those people, you may not see the game or the coverage you want to see, because other people will not cover it. I've been in conversations where somebody's like, this group has it, we don't want to cover it. Like they're going to cover it before us at their event. We don't want to cover it. We're going to do like a different game because there's so many games out. And I think that's the structure that's missing. Something's going to replace it. It just will. I don't know if it'll be right away, but I feel like, I don't know about you, but I feel like having that in a weird way does help.
I think it does too.
Messaging or something.
I was reading with State of Play that apparently something got cut off at the end, and you kind of got that feeling. Like I know it was supposed to be a smaller State of Play, and they did set expectations properly, I would say, but it felt like there was supposed to be something after Godfall. And I was reading Jeff Grubb saying that maybe EA was going to show something, but their relationship with Sony right now is sort of spotty because I think of FIFA in like May or something like that. It was something along those lines. And I think what's happening is because there's so many platforms, companies are quicker to cut each other off last minute, and it leads to less quality shows for us, which is why you're seeing so many people amount with the disappointment. I think you're right on the money, Karak, that there's also so many platforms now. Everyone's trying to serve their audience, but you're not growing your audience that way. You're staying in a bubble. And E3, how many E3s have we had? It's literally every E3, actually. I should answer the question myself, where you're watching Microsoft's presentation rather, and you see this like surprise indie game that looks like it has a bigger budget than it ever should, and it's so artistically different, and it just sticks out like that. Like that's a cool feeling, and I think part of the reason those games stick out more is because you're seeing it on a very big platform. If I'm releasing a game and it's on State of Play September 2020, and it's just another RPG, some people might just go like, oh, yeah, this is a perfect platform for this type of shit. But I think the perspective also is a bit more augmented when you see it on the big Microsoft stage and they're fitting it into their 1-2 hour showcase. I think there's a bit more quality selection there. When you have so many different ways to show games off, it's a good thing. We're getting more to talk about. Like, Karak, we were saying last year, these stretch of months are usually dead for us. We usually have nothing to go over. Yeah. Our channels suffer for it. But like, this is for a lot of people, the best our channels have done, because we're always having some type of game to talk about, some type of announcement, some type of show. So I love the activity. And I apologize, my answer is really long-winded here, but I love the activity and how we're always looking forward to something. It's especially helpful nowadays. But I think when things do start to go back to normal, hopefully soon, I don't think you're going to see it next year, but like, I think there will be a bigger platform. And I think Jeff Keighley's Summer of Gaming had the right idea. I'm going to be curious to see how he handles Gamescom, because he's doing that opening night live thing again. And I think that his vision is maybe that's his, next to the Game Awards, that's like his sub E3, like his big summer show. He's got a big summer show, big winter show. So I think we'll have a better idea of how things can go if he really does a good job with this one, because there's a chance we get the Kojima show again like we did last year, which that was fucking terrible, in my opinion. Sorry, though. That was a really long answer. Dustin, what do you think about going back to E3 or more supplemental shows?
Yeah, it's so hard for me just because I mean, I think that extending out all these announcements through the summer, I think we're starting to see people start to feel fatigue from that. And especially because we have different publishers or whatever that are having their own events that aren't really necessary. So everyone's just saying, hey, tune in. And eventually, it's exciting at first because, beginning of summer, early June, it's that E3 time and everyone will tune in to everything. But I don't know, maybe people are still willing to tune in to everything. I don't know. I know that I'm at least feeling like, okay, if you're going to have an event, make it worth my time. Because some of these I've tuned in and I'm like, well, why did I just sit and watch this for the last 45 minutes to an hour? When I could have just went and just watched the trailers afterwards, which theoretically you could always do. But
you make a really good point that there's so many, and if there's a quality expectation, and there should always be.
As far as E3, I mean, the thing to remember always is that there's so much more going on at E3 than the press announcements and the show floor. There's, all these rooms of deals going on and people checking out games behind closed doors and stuff like that. So I think there is merit to something in person. I think that there's so many different things with E3 that's so strange. The fact that it's run by the ESA, that the fact that they're the part of E3 is so they can get half of their income. And so part of me feels like there needs to be some kind of E3 that's back to what the original point was, that it is a meeting place for industry professionals, whether that be press or publishers, developers, whatever. Mm-hmm. And instead it's become this big money-making opportunity potentially out of necessity. So I don't know. I think there is, to sum everything up, I think there is value in an industry event for industry professionals. I don't think that it is necessarily what we saw of E3 for the past few years.
Well said. Yeah. Great question, Natural Calamity. You got one more. Question 3, do you think the console wars are over? With Microsoft taking a totally different route to make all their money off services while Sony is staying their guns, it doesn't seem like the fight is still on. I think it's still on just because of how they respond to each other. There's a reason they haven't announced the prices, and they don't give a fuck that everyone's complaining. They're waiting on one another. And when PlayStation announced all of their peripherals, Xbox UK was like, hey, our controller is backwards compatible, or forwards compatible, sorry. So if you have an Xbox One controller, it'll work on your Series X because it's a family thing. And it fits their brand. It really does. But I feel it's over as soon as the little random subtweets and jabs stop, which I don't think they ever will, because they have to acknowledge, even if like Phil said, hey, Amazon's a threat, Google's a bigger threat, we're not worried about them. They have to be worried about them to some extent, because you're just lying to yourself at that point. There's no other way to put it. What do you gentlemen make of it? Console wars ongoing?
I think that console wars don't require the console creators to be involved in them, and a little like Civil War, or where the Japanese dude was on the island years after World War II and still thought World War II was going on. That's the way console gamers will be. So
wait, is that really a thing?
That's very much a thing, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he was found 13 years after World War II ended and thought World War II was still going on. He thought all the propaganda of America bombing was fake and that it was just propaganda.
Shit.
So I think that it doesn't require the gamers to be, or it doesn't require the companies to be involved in the console war. I think the console war will always be there because there's platforms that are different and they will pay money. And we now know, the rumor is that Sony has now paid for 2 other quote unquote insanely popular multi-platform expected titles to forever, that they basically said, we don't want you to put it on any competitor's machine. It needs to just be on PS4. And these are supposedly expected multi-platform games. If that turns out to be true, there'll be a battle regardless, because that's just the way it is. But I think they are going it totally different. I mean, I get where you're coming from. They are responding to each other. They have to. But I think dude, they're going to have different price deltas. They're going to have different, it's weird. And I did a video on this actually, or a podcast just a couple days ago, where I said, my personal belief is it's not necessarily they're just responding to each other. I believe they are confused and that neither one knows where the other is going, because Microsoft is not aiming at what Sony's aiming at. They both want all gamers, but guess what? All gamers in the way Sony wants them is actually not the same as all gamers in the way Microsoft wants them. So they may say the word gamer, but they may mean this weird split group where some is overlap, some is not. They're going towards different things. Right. So I do believe there's some confusion. I also believe the economy is at the point where they don't know what they can even charge. And matter of fact, I think Forbes just released a huge article yesterday where they were saying the same thing. They believe that right now, some of the price is actually them trying to figure out what they can charge. Like because of embargoes and tariffs and the amounts. That's a huge deal right now.
That would make sense. I
don't think people realize too that they're now considering us in the largest recession ever. Like they don't even compare it now to world wars. They're saying we are considered to be in the largest recession ever. No one knows if kids are going back to school. Yeah. So I think it's all of that, and it's we live in interesting times.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it'll always be there, though.
This will be a quick one. Question 4.
Well, I don't know if I think Dustin didn't go on that.
Sorry, Dustin.
I can make it quick.
No, you can say what you want. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, Karak, you're right about the fact that the console war will always be happening amongst the fans because people always try to justify the things they buy. And honestly, people treat it seriously, or at least you see the people arguing seriously, but I think half of them are just having fun.
Right.
And half of them are taking it too seriously, probably.
Yeah.
Based on Natural Calamity's question, I don't know if this is the angle he meant as far as like, is Sony and Microsoft still competing since they're doing such different things? This is something that comes up where it's like, oh, Nintendo isn't really competing with Sony and Microsoft anymore. That is something I've never understood, and I've heard actual commentators say. They are definitely competing. Even though the product is different, no matter, some people, you have like $100 to budget for entertainment. They're all in the same category. You know what I mean? So I think that if that's the angle you mean as far as the console wars, whether it's it's always going to be a competition for your time,
for your dollar,
and more
minimum.
importantly, your dollar. Right. And it's always going to be, it's the business of entertainment. So, yeah. So that's it.
Well put. Question 4. What weird combinations do you like to make with your food? I am dying to know Karak's answer to this.
Guys, knock it the fuck off. Sorry, the dogs they're playing, and it's like, it's stressing me out. Yeah, continue. Sorry.
You're good. Here, if you have to take care of them, by all means. Because I know this show's running 2.5 hours in.
Oh, no, we're good. What's up?
Do you eat weird combinations of food in tandem, like pineapple, then some pho, and follow it up with sugar-free Red Bull and sushi, then finish it off with some Cocoa Puffs? Now, Natural, we live in a judge-free zone here on this podcast, but we're going to have to chat just a little bit if this is a peek into your diet, my friend, because that's just your palate. How do you taste the sushi, the plain rice, when you've got Red Bull on the tongue? We've got to talk about that a little bit, I think. So do follow up next week and let us know what the hell you're actually eating. And if this is a look at like yesterday, because you wrote this yesterday at 6 p.m., so this was around dinner time if you are on the East Coast. So I am just dying to know your diet. But anyway, when it comes to weird combinations of foods, do you guys like, I have weird things in tandem, kind of like he mentioned. Like I will have food that does not overlap whatsoever.
Like what?
Like I will have Sun Chips, protein Greek yogurt, and a bowl of like Life cereal. I don't think any of that really overlaps. Maybe the yogurt and the cereal a little bit, but like just I look at the nutritional facts sometimes and I'm like, this got what I need, this got what I need. Calorie count right here. All right, boom, we're good. Like I had to remove the part of me who was like, you need your vegetable, your starch, and your protein. I had to take that part out of my body because sometimes we're here at the computer. You need just things that are finger food, but maybe give you a little bit of what you need, or it's just junk food in that case.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of that?
Nothing special for me. I'm very picky. And I'm very blah.
Blah.
Very.
Like meat,
yeah.
like meatloaf?
Meat, cheese.
Dude, don't even say meatloaf.
What? A meatloaf. I don't mind
meatloaf is wrong,
but I'm rare. Yeah, my mom made horrible meatloaf, and I didn't know, so I hated meatloaf. And then my grandma made some, and I was like, I like this, and my mom's like, you never liked mine, and then it dawned on me what that meant. So I had no clue. But no, I want meat and cheese, and that's it. I'm fine with that. I will eat other stuff, but I'm not experimental at all.
All right,
like I'll try when I can, but I don't.
I give you meatloaf with cheese in the center.
Meatloaf's got a lot of different things going on, which that's the way my brain works. I don't know if Dustin's does, but when I hear meatloaf, my brain's like, man, that's a lot. Like that's too many.
What about
things.
a hot dog with cheese? I'm trying to find an overlap.
Sure, that's meat and cheese, though. Meat, cheese, and bread is a sandwich. I'm fine with that. It's that, like, some of my friends will have a sandwich with, like, all the fixins, they call it. And I'll be like, dude, fuck off with that. Like, I'm maybe maybe one other thing besides meat and cheese.
Are you? Sorry, I'm digging deep here, but are you the type of guy who, let's say, like you and I go to Burger King, and we both get burgers? Are you taking off the bun, taking off like the onions, the pickles, and you just got the meat, the cheese, and the bun?
I'm that type of guy. I'm not an animal. I won't eat a pickle on a burger. Like only.
Well, that's funny because I won't.
And animals will eat a fucking pickle on a burger. I don't like that shit. Oh, you like pickles on burgers?
No.
No, either do I. I'm saying only animals would eat a pickle on a burger.
Yeah, no pickles. Definitely not.
That's bitter or sour, and it doesn't work with the burger for me. I like meat and savory. But no, I would ask for that to not be there. But I would get onion for sure. I do like crisp green peppers barbecued, and I like crisp onions. Those are like my two vegetables, I would say, that I'm a big fan of.
I want to cook for Karak once just so I could see his face when I put the plate in front of him.
I would eat it. I'll eat stuff. It's just that I won't seek it out, if that makes sense.
Oh, okay.
You know, like if there's a pizza place, I might get something crazy once or twice. But most of the time, I've always been burned. I'm also a person who has bad luck. So like if I do want to try, almost every time I try, it's bad to everybody, not just me. As in, like, somebody may say, let's go to this place and get a special food, and I get it, and even they think it was a terrible meal, if that makes sense. So what's happened is, over my life as a kid, I've just learned trying is for losers. It's always turned out bad for me.
Poor Karak.
It's true.
Let's just take a
what about Dustin?
Your palate. Yeah.
What do you do?
Okay, we got to clear the air first about the meatloaf.
Oh my god!
Because meat, I've always been passionate about this. I don't think that meat belongs in a loaf like bread. Like, to me, it's like, do you guys? I've never actually had Spam.
Fuck, dude.
Neither have I.
Bro, I'm telling you, fry up Spam and eggs. It is a meat loaf.
That sounds good.
Me. But that shit, but I think you're right. You mean like like in meatloaf, there's like,
it's like there's bready,
yeah,
it's a bready meat. Like, it's just, Maddie, you're a weeb. So have you watched Full Metal Alchemist?
Not as much as I
okay. So no spoilers. It's very early on, but there are two things. I love to see the comments on this. There are two things that get combined into something horrific very early on.
Food wise?
No, a person and an animal get combined through the power of alchemy. It's very disturbing. And this is what meatloaf is to me. These are just two things. Yeah. They do not belong together. And I've had enough of it, and I will not have it. I have eaten meatloaf because I was invited to someone's house, and that's what they served me. And I'm a gentleman.
Yeah,
I ate it.
For sure.
It was not easy.
Were you like doing what Squidward did, where he had the Krabby Patty, he took a bite at the end, you just see like a little bump?
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, that's exactly me. Yeah, yeah. I am a really picky eater, but a polite one is the way I like to think about it. Like, I will eat things that are presented to me, and I won't complain. But if I'm ordering something, if I'm seeking something out, like there are things like, for example, ketchup, no go. Never ketchup, never mustard. Mayo, I would never seek it out, but it's not offensive, if that makes sense. If that makes sense. I'm offended by ketchup. Like, the presence of it is
what?
Like, dude, okay, you get the ketchup and people squirt it out of the bottle, and it has like I won't be crude here. I have another word for it.
I know
it does
exactly
the watery, liquidy,
the watery
nasty
discharge. Yeah.
And it smells disgusting. Yeah. It's, it's the...
I love ketchup, and I know exactly what you're talking about, though. I would not argue with anything.
And it gets all crusty at the top.
Yep.
The worst feeling is when you have that sad moment. You're like, burger time, and you pop open the bun, you go to put the ketchup on it.
And it's the water part. It's the fuck. That's why when I get the ketchup, if I do it, and I agree, I don't put ketchup on much, and I don't really seek it out. But occasionally I will, but I shake that shit because there's nothing worse than water spread and just ejaculating water onto your hamburger.
I was gonna say it's the ketchup pre-cum.
No, it is.
That's
pre-cum.
what it is.
You're not the only one, and I knew exactly where you're going because that is what it fucking is. And you put it on, and you're like, everything in my life is ruined right now. Everything is ruined.
Ketchup pre-cum will do that to you.
It ruins your sandwich. It ruins your fries. It ruins anything you put it on.
It turns into a freshly cooked burger into something soggy.
Like
your
gross,
bun's
man.
wet now.
Yep.
No one wants that, man. Oh, man, great question.
So that was, I don't do weird combos really because of that. That's the answer, is keep things neat,
Okay.
you know.
So like, I got a question. Oh, sorry. I want to question you guys. Do you guys have a replacement for something? Because that normally other people don't. I have replaced something that when I mention it, my friends go and they're like, that sounds revolting. And then they try it. And I'm not lying. I have 100% success rate. I replaced nacho chips with spicy pork rinds. And it's because I'm on Atkins, because I can get hypoglycemia at times and it feels shitty. So I like to keep low carb as much as possible. And one day, one of my friends was like, dude, pork rinds look like you can dip them in nacho stuff easier. They don't break like chips. We should try it. And you get spicy ones, not plain ones. You have to get like the Mexican red hot spicy ones. Do you guys ever, like in soup or something? Because I know another person who replaces, no lie, they have cereal without milk. I mean, in fact, I think it was Maddie and I talked about this. Somebody has something in cereal that's not milk. It's like
almond milk.
No. I don't consider that milk, but that would be the same. I'm pretty sure it was fucking pop.
Oh,
like,
God.
And they do it all the time. Like, it's not like they did it. And I was like, dude, you're an alien. No human puts fucking, it was pop. It was like Pepsi. Oof. They had cornflakes and Pepsi all the time. They didn't have milk and they loved it. Is there a less disgusting replacement you guys do?
Yeah, I'll start off simple. I used to drink this is more of a healthy replacement. I don't know if this actually answers your question, but I drank a lot of soda in high school, and the way I started quitting and then permanently quit soda was I just started drinking like the essenced seltzer, like, you know, Poland Spring.
Oh, hell yeah.
Poland Spring will have like a raspberry lime, and it's like no sweeteners, nothing's in there. It's just a light touch. I wouldn't even call it a flavor. It's like an aroma almost, and that would be one of my major replacements, because I do sometimes get a hankering, like, man, like nothing beats, when I was a teenager, I should say, junk food, soda, game. Like, it was always a good feeling. But obviously, you get older, you want to take better care of your body. I'm trying to think of like something, like an actual replacement, like what you're asking. Like, I started using almond milk.
Did you? What do you think of all? Really?
Man, vanilla.
I don't like almond milk, but I use it.
Vanilla, not plain almond milk, because then you taste the almonds.
And I love almonds, and the idea is just so alien to me.
Yeah, it's not. For me, sometimes because I told you, sometimes I base my decisions just off the nutritional facts, and when you see like the fat content in the milk, sometimes I'm just like, oh, dude, I'm just slugging down. Like, I'm just picturing my arteries clogging up in the moment. And so, like, sometimes just having almond milk, which is just thin, it just, I don't know, it tastes really nice. Like, it's the idea of something almost clean going through my body. And that's what's delicious about it, even if it doesn't taste that good. It's a mental game. I've tricked my brain into it. Replacement-wise, see, I'm a man of convenience, right? So, like, in college, I'm a big egg man. I love eggs. In college, because I was a lazy boy, I did not want to, take out the frying pan, butter, whatever, crack the eggs, use the spatula. It's just a mess, and it's shit I got to clean up later. I found this thing called the Egg-tastic, and it's you crack the egg into this ceramic jar, fucking put it in the microwave, comes out scrambled eggs, and they're pretty fluffy. And so what I do is I just get up, shower, microwave eggs, off to school, 20-minute process. So it gave me more sleep. So when I replace in my life, I replace with convenience, especially in those college days, not with like what you were mentioning, like soda in your cereal. Yeah,
that's wrong.
I would agree with that, because I feel like for me, replacement is using up leftovers. Like, I've done some weird things where I've had leftover taco meat but no shells, so I put it on like a hamburger bun with cheese.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And that was great. It was like a weird sloppy Joe almost.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
so
awesome. Nice reworking there. Yeah, that's good work. All right. I feel like we got somewhere with that.
That was good. Good talk.
All right. We're nearing the end here. And one of these questions is actually directly at you, Dustin, which is good. First, though, Holzer19 says, what is a no-brainer business idea that you can't believe the console companies don't do. He puts in parentheses, it confuses me that they don't have full-blown custom controller builders on their websites because that would be awesome. That would have been my answer, actually. I'm very sure. I think Microsoft has a little bit of that already.
Colored shells, yeah.
Oh, that's what it is? Okay.
Full. Yeah. You can do full color shells and thumbsticks, but you can't affect the innards.
Yeah. I don't know about the innards, but like putting little designs on it that maybe you've made yourself and having the companies kind of print them out. I think that'd be pretty neat to have a first party do something like that. That literally would have been my answer. Because it's not that they're nailing it all. Like, one thing that confuses me is how PSN barely fucking functions. Like, that thing's hanging on by a thread constantly. So that would be another, a no-brainer would be, hey, let's get this working. That'd be sick. That'd be all I got, though.
For me, just mine's real quick. We don't need to think outside the box. For me, it would be for Nintendo to sell retro games in a way that I can buy them.
Holy
I know
shit.
that they have their online service, but like, you know, just honestly, I don't even care if I already bought it again on the Wii or whatever. Just let me spend $6 to buy whatever Super Nintendo type game that I want, and then I don't have to have your online service. It doesn't need to switch out, whatever. Just like, I just want to be able to, and let third parties do it. Like, just let me buy Final Fantasy VI on the Switch. You don't need to reinvent the wheel here. Just do what you did last gen. You know what I mean? I don't know.
It's very weird.
Just seems obvious, like a way to print money, but they tied it to their crappy online service that apparently we need to pay for, so we can have laggy Smash matches.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
Every fucking time. Karak, you got an answer?
Yeah. I think hardware-based, probably hardware-based virtual file systems for mods for all games. I think that we sort of, you have some people messing around with it, but most console makers do not want mods for the various reasons that we have hacked. Original Xbox was due to a bad save game. So I think most of them are so nervous about getting hacked. But I think there's got to be ways to do it. And I would love a virtual file system for games, like Mod Organizer has, of course, for Skyrim. Nexus does it now too. But I just think mods would be great, because I think companies, I don't even need like a generic person at their home to be able to upload it directly to my Xbox, even if it just goes to their website. Skins and stuff. I would kill for that. Ooh, I froze. Sorry.
Oh man, we almost got through it. Hey, that's actually pretty good when you say you were having tech issues.
We didn't do too bad to get through that far. That is true.
Right?
But that would be mine mod for sure.
Yeah, that's a really good one too. Coach Blue writes in, "Hello, fellas. Dustin, you're awesome, man. Welcome to the show." Oh,
thank you.
That. Avowed is getting tagged as Obsidian's Elder Scrolls. In what ways do you guys? In what ways would you guys want Avowed to be different than games like Skyrim or Oblivion? How would you want Avowed to be innovative?
It's been a while since I played Skyrim. I mean, I feel like you could just, for me, I've always felt like the combat in Skyrim wasn't very good. So making a more modern combat system. I mean, first person melee combat isn't necessarily easy. I know you guys mentioned Vermintide as being like the best first person melee combat. So maybe they could do something more like that.
I really like Kingdom Come Deliverance too. I think no game is like Kingdom Come Deliverance. You could say games like, I think, Mordhau and Chivalry Medieval Warfare have a little very much shared elements, but I think Kingdom Come does it the best. It's very meticulous, and by the end game you can just slash through people, but for most of your game if you see like 4 people coming at you, you're like, oh shit. Whereas in literally any other RPG, it's like, yeah, bring it on. So I agree with you entirely. That's right where I would have leapt into. I think part of it is with both those games that you can literally feel the ambition leaking from them. Like, I know, I don't think Oblivion's aged great. I love Oblivion, by the way. I think most of my audience knows that. It was literally like my first Bethesda Game Studios game. But going back to it just about a year and a half ago at this point, for my re-review rather. And I kind of want to re-review it again because that was only like a 5-minute review. But anyway, going back to it, a lot of the dungeons have not aged well because they were all crafted by one person. So it's impressive in scale and size, but as time has gone on, it doesn't play as well. But it's still, you can see it was a very ambitious title for its time, and they did most of their stuff right. You know, the reused voice actors pop up. Skyrim, I don't think I need to say much. I think for a 2011 game, that title is astounding. Even if you hate it, which I would get, there are plenty of reasons why you could dislike Skyrim. I just think, once again, that is a very ambitious game in its scope, scale, everything it does. Its leveling system, its DLC, the kind of go anywhere mentality is truly realized in a way that I don't think many games have hit. The ability to interact with any object in the environment, lots of quests. Like, it's just a very ambitious experience. I would love to see Avowed channel that, and you only channel that with like passion, belief in your ideas. And I think, a sense of modernization in a lot of the major mechanics that we see in those games. And also separation, right? I made a whole video on my channel talking about like Obsidian exiting Bethesda Shadow, because every time people talk about, and this is no offense to Coach Blue, but this is a great example. Anytime Obsidian's talked about, it's always with Bethesda in tandem. And it's like, I think Obsidian's outclassed Bethesda at this point. I think we should be talking about what can Bethesda do that Obsidian has done. And so there's no disagreement for me that a lot of their games are similar in design. But I just think Obsidian's moved beyond them. And so I would like to see them do kind of what Skyrim did back in 2011 and just introduce all these new elements that games are going to try to model after. Like, take that Kingdom Come Deliverance gameplay, redo it in your own eyes, in your own vision. We know that there's going to be magic involved, so that could be cool with spell casting. And take it in your own direction instead of just saying, like, what did Skyrim do? Okay, we're going to do that, but bigger, grander, and we're going to refine things. That's what I'd do, personally. Karak?
Mine would be Battle. I think like Dark Messiah of Might and Magic did pretty well. Vermintide did well, and I think that Bethesda games don't, and Obsidian games don't. Mm-hmm. Overall, they just don't have any impact, and I ignore it. I don't ignore it now. Now I'm just like, all right, whatever. What's their other stuff? Because they're not the only ones who have that issue. First person is hard. First person's hard to get that feel. That's why when Vermintide, when you first swing the hammer and it hits a body and it bounces back, your brain's like, what? And it doesn't bounce back in the Mordheim or, in some other super realistic way where now you're fucked. It's more just like give some feedback that there's something in front of you. Yeah. And that you hit something. Because I was playing VR Skyrim a couple days ago and I swung my sword. And while VR Skyrim is unbelievable with mods, it was nothing on top of nothing because VR already has nothing. And it was like the two mixed together really remind you just how bad. Also, I wish they handled movement better. I think Fallout, New Vegas, not Fallout New Vegas, but Fallout as a series, sorry. And then Bethesda's The Elder Scrolls series all handle movement like shit. You move like a tank with eyes. Even if you do this, it doesn't feel right. I'm not saying Mirror's Edge. It doesn't need to feel like that. I get
what you're saying, though.
It like you can tell a log is a box. Does that make sense? Like, it doesn't feel like it's a log with maybe a knob that you might have put your foot on. It just feels like a box, and you never look down when you're walking over it, but that it would just be a square, and your character would go, ha, 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 ha.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I would like to see that.
Yeah, I always wonder if part of the reason they make you move like that is because they always want the in-between, like going from these ruins to this cave. They want that in-between to be like a moment-to-moment experience, whether it's something dynamic happening or you're just taking in the world. I think that's why they sort of pace your movement that way, but I agree that if they're going to make a bigger world, like if Starfield's this multi-world experience, I would hope that there are some open areas and that the movement in that game is very different.
Yeah, me too.
Paco Luigi writes in, he says, Hola, que pasa? What are some mini-series or projects you'd like to start on your respective channels? What are some ideas as a producer you'd get behind for each other's? Make it as spicy as you want, gentlemen. Con muchos ridiculosity. Paco, sorry.
Is he calling us names? Sounds like
I don't know.
Just joking.
I took Spanish in college for a
My wife would
semester.
nail that shit, but all I heard was Paco. I know him. I like his name. I like his
Yes,
username.
I like it too. Yeah, there's something about it. Stands out. All right. Do we have any ideas, some projects in mind that you gentlemen have wanted to pursue, but maybe haven't?
This is a weird question because I feel like if I had an idea, I wouldn't share it right now.
That's true.
You know what I mean? Like,
That's
I was
true.
like, man, I have, and actually, I need to talk to you about this, Matty, but I have a lot of ideas for side quest on CLS.
Yes, indeed.
To kind of like, obviously, we kind of have a formula right now of like the different types of videos, but I really want to try some new things that I think hopefully people will like. So I don't know the truth. Okay, so the answer is yes, I have ideas, but they're not fleshed out, and you would see them when you see them. As far
I'll
as
give all mine out. Oh, okay.
Go for it. Oh no, good.
I for sure want to do, and somebody can steal it because I just say my ideas out because I'll never get to them. Half of them. I absolutely want to do a game where I test stupid things that happen in games and see if they're real, like stealth games where you're carrying a human body, how far you can carry a human body. And I've always wanted to record like me carrying a person, see how far I can carry them before collapsing, or when my friend hears me. And because I've like bark and I have a backyard that's like rock, and I've always been like, how far away can a person hear you? You know, before the enemy goes, huh? So it's like, hey, I'll just have a friend stand out and back. And we actually had a full on like thing where it was, you know, like I had the idea for recording, and it was like, yeah, because I think you and I talked about this like a year and a half ago. Still hasn't been done, but I would love that. And then I did have somebody working on it, but we canceled it. I had a series of 5 videos where it was superheroes from various different games that we used Photoshop and Premiere and After Effects where they were going to fight each other. So Batman from Batman Arkham Knight was going to go against Spider-Man, and you took all of their stats, all of their special stuff that they had, and we actually found software that allowed you to make it look like Spider-Man was in Batman's levels or Batman was in Spider-Man's, and you figured out how many newtons Batman could punch by looking at video game. It was just video games too. We weren't going with movies. So it was like Batman's strongest punch. Yeah. And it was like, we found Batman's strongest punch in all the games in a cutscene. We were like, this is how many newtons at the absolute most he's delivering. And then Spider-Man, this is his strongest kick. And the guy goes this far. And that means he can do this amount of damage. And it never, you know, I paid some people to put it together, but it just never, it was just too much, I think. Like, my idea was something that IGN would probably be like, dude, seriously, that's a movie. Like, that's, you know, that's my ideas too. My ideas are always really technical and really like huge. That's why I can only do, well, none of them.
I get
but those would be my 2 I've always wanted to do and just have never come together.
I have a mini project that I think I'm going to get out next week. It's like reviewing a game that is a part of a developer I care a lot about, but I don't think anyone really knows about the game at all. So I think it'll be like an interesting, oh shit, they made this game kind of moment.
Oh, cool.
And I think that'll be fun. I don't think it's gonna like blow anyone's socks off, but it's a higher effort production compared to a normal video because I've been working on this for about a week and a half now. Just like chipping through the game, recording skits, all that stuff. So that should be good. But in the terms of like bigger projects, I think most of mine are out there, like the pandemic documentary. I have most of my interviews recorded. And so I just have to work on getting that out. And what else? I have one other in mind, but I don't want to say it yet because that one is like, I don't know if I'll actually be able to play the games yet to do that. All right. This is the last set of questions. Comes from Great Ape 51. It's just 2, but they are text walls. It seems ridiculous to me, in question number 1, that we are just over 3 months from new consoles launching and we don't have any locked in details about price and what games will and won't be available at launch. Without these details, these new consoles to me at least hold on, sorry, there's an error here. I've warned everyone about what happens when there's writing errors in our Patron questions because then I stumble, I look silly, and I don't like that. I'm just kidding. Without these details, these new consoles to me at launch seem to be getting less and less appealing. The couple of games I definitely want to check out, Cyberpunk and Deathloop. I might just get on other platforms. Right now,
As a whole lot, it is harder to justify getting either new console this year. I could afford to drop $500 to $1,000 getting one of them and related items, but I am questioning myself exactly why I should do that with the current info we have. Awfully hard to get excited or look forward to nebulous launches. Paragraph break. This is where our question comes in. Great Ape loves to do this. Big setup, then he delivers. Do you think Microsoft and or Sony finally end this stupid game of chicken and give us locked-in details before the month ends?
Yes.
I feel they have to if they're going to release this holiday. That's the thing. If they're not going to release this holiday, then you're not. But if they are, which they're staying steadfast in that, it has to happen this month. Absolutely has to happen. I don't know if it happens through a blog post or a state of play. It has to happen. Absolutely has to happen. Karak?
Yeah, there's probably a 50-50 chance that we get both prices. I'm not as confident as you guys are.
Yeah, I think it depends on, because you mentioned the economy of it, and I think that's a huge factor, and it's not going to be fixed this month or next month for a while even. And so I genuinely think if they're sticking with releasing in the holiday, we're going to have to. But
I do want to add something to his little, and we'll be very short. I just want to add something.
No, you're good.
You shouldn't buy them.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, I don't see any reason so far at all whatsoever that you should be buying one of the new consoles. Either one. New exclusives won't be out for PS5 for quite a while, and not enough to justify that kind of cost.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have a PC, then the Xbox, well, I say this loosely. If you have a powerful PC, then the Xbox Series X is not worth it. They are powerful, and we just saw this morning, Horizon Zero Dawn, how a port may not be as good as the original console version for a while on PC. So I don't think there's a reason. Right now, I see nothing that would indicate you should go out in the current financial situation we're in and buy one. So far as of yet, they have not sold me. You and I will get them. Well, we'll all get them, I assume, for reviews and for coverage. But I'm going to tell you right now, fuck them if they think I would get them if I wasn't reviewing. Because I would not be buying one of those.
The only thing I think should turn anyone's head throughout this whole process would be Game Pass. That is the only thing I think you should be considering putting your money into. Because
I mean, if you have the Xbox, Matty.
Yeah. Exactly. You know, if you already have an Xbox One, like Microsoft already said for 2 years, nothing is going to be, unless they go back on that, right? You got to trust the company's word. But if they're not going to go with exclusives for 2 years and you already have an Xbox One, or you have a mid-tier PC even, like, I always say it confidently, like, it's nothing against Xbox, but don't bother. If you're interested in their games and you've got a mid-tier PC or you have the original Xbox One, just get Game Pass. That's it. Just call it a day. Wait for the launch of the consoles where all the new games come out. Hop into Game Pass, play them up, and that's it. That's what Microsoft wants you to do anyway. When it comes to PlayStation, it is a different story. Like someone mentioned in the questions earlier, they're really sticking to their guns. But from what we've seen, like when we look at the PS4 launch of the generation, our generational launch, we knew in June that there were 3 major exclusives.
Big titles. Yeah.
Same thing with Xbox. We're not getting that vibe here. Like, I thought for sure Ratchet and Clank would be one, but it's just looking like Spider-Man is a main one, and I don't think that's PS5 exclusive. I'm pretty sure that's a PS4 game as well.
No, Miles Morales, that'll be PS5 only.
Oh, I apologize. All right, so that's huge. So that's one good thing to have locked in for PlayStation.
Mm-hmm.
But after that, you know, you look at like the indie games they announced, and those could be cool little things like Bug Snacks. They said that's launching this holiday. So is that just a PS5 game, or like what's going on with that? There's not clarity. So yeah, to tail off of what Karak said, fuck them. Fuck them. All right. Dustin, do you have anything you wanted to add?
No. Yeah, I think that sums it up pretty nice. I mean, I think that to clarify on my yes earlier, I think yes, we will definitely find out something this month. Yes, we will get the price, or it is not happening this year.
So yeah, that is true, right?
I think we will find out we will find out the fate,
the go no go.
Right. Yeah. I think this is the do or die month for sure.
I think
Makes sense.
Just to not drag it on anymore, but I do think if anyone's going to delay it, it's probably Microsoft because they're trying to sell you a service probably over their console, and that service is a go already. So they just need the games.
You really? Because I feel like they are the only ones that have everything situated already and won't wait. I don't know why, but I mean, they're already showing the internals of the box. They're showing Digital Foundry taking it apart. Yeah, Digital Foundry's already taken it apart. They've multiple YouTubers have had it. So it's like,
apologies, I did not know that then.
Yeah, and Microsoft has been the only company to say people have been playing it at home for a long time. So it's like, of all the companies, for whatever reason, I just feel like they're the only one that won't. But that's just me.
No, I think you're right. I didn't have that information. That definitely changes my mind. All right. Question 2, final question of the show. It's been a long one. We appreciate those of you stayed tuned this long. Hopefully we made it entertaining for you. I think we had a lot of laughs this show, so it's definitely a good one. Is it irrational that I get annoyed when people conflate Bethesda Game Studios and Bethesda Softworks? Sure, Fallout 76, the actual software and game, was a black eye at launch for Bethesda Game Studios, and marketing campaign by Bethesda Softworks didn't help matters with canvas bags, misrepresented liquor bottles, or moldy helmets. But each of these things were done by separate entities. Paragraph break. I just hate when I see thumbnails or titles along the lines of Bethesda ruins insert Wolfenstein, Doom, Rage, or any BS IP. I'm sorry, Bethesda Softworks IP, not BS. How would Bethesda Softworks publishing games by other developers in their stable of devs be negatively affected by Bethesda Game Studios? It doesn't make any sense, but unfortunately, these types of headlines seem to garner attention. Bethesda Softworks doing that no early review stance for a while was moronic and dumb, but most of the time, it seems to be content creators trying to tie BGS's recent subpar quality with some other developers, also published by Bethesda Softworks. I think what you're seeing here, Great Ape, is, how do I word it? And this, I mean this with no disrespect to other companies, but if you're trying to, at least from my perspective as someone who's probably made a video that you might even be talking about, like when I'm trying to bring attention to what I just did it there, what's happening with Deathloop and Ghostwire Tokyo, these are brand new IPs, and I can guarantee most folks in general don't know what these new titles are. I imagine enthusiasts do, but generally speaking, I imagine they don't. To bring attention to the exclusivity matter, though, that would be I would say, Bethesda decision. They are publishing the game. They're probably handling the marketing and the deal with PlayStation there. So I would say Bethesda is making it exclusive. But yeah, like when it comes to something like Wolfenstein sucks and has like a shitty patch that comes out, that would fall on, I would say, the developer. But I think for recognizability, like just knowing the company, because if you say like Machine Games, they don't have that YouTube pull. They don't have that streaming pull that Bethesda has. It just catches the eye more. And I think you're able to associate like, not everyone knows Wolfenstein. Everybody knows Bethesda, I think is the mindset. That's how I'd summarize it. I totally understand your frustration. I think it makes sense. I don't think you're wrong for feeling that way. But I think it's just to get the information out there. Some people do hate bait it. They're like, oh, people fucking hate Bethesda. And so, boom, they're in the title. And I'm not just saying it to like defend myself. I don't approach it that way, though, genuinely speaking. I know a lot of other creators don't. But like most times it's a recognition thing. Like people know Bethesda, not unless it's a particular thing within the development company, which a lot of times it's not. A lot of times these dudes are just making games, which is why it would fall on the pub. That's just my little word vomit there.
What do you think, Dustin?
I mean, every publisher and developer is different, but it's not like, I don't think Bethesda is just handing their teams boatloads of money and then turning the other direction. I mean, there is some sort of oversight. So I can understand the association for sure. So I don't know. I think Matty, you've kind of laid it out pretty well, but clearly there's an association. So, and there's oversight. So it's one of those, like the buck stops with them in a way, since they're the one putting out the money and putting out the game. So, that's true. I mean, and in other ways too. And I think Matty, you had touched on, I don't know where I was going with that. Anyway, Bethesda has done some weird money things with their IPs, I would say, as far as and their developers, like specifically with Wolfenstein. That VR game was a bit of a cash grab. I don't know who's, thought who wanted to do that, but as far as like the time and the budget, that was kind of a weird one. Also, the synergy between Arcane and Wolfenstein Youngblood. So I don't know. It's one of those things where there's these companies working together and doing different things, and they're all connected through this one point, which is Bethesda. So I don't know. Did any of that make sense? I feel like that was a lot of random ideas spewed out.
I think you actually rounded out my ideas even better, just because like Wolfenstein Youngblood's a perfect example, because you're not going to say like part of the title of a video or an article is to grab, and some people always associate that with something negatively, but I'm not going to write Arcane and Machine Games and Bethesda take scummy business route with Wolfenstein Youngblood. It's like, no, just Bethesda. Just get people to the fucking point. There comes a point where, like, if you have a marathon in a title, I used to do this a lot. Like, information is good, but you want to make sure people can just quickly put together, like, oh, this is what the video is about, and just decide right then and there, should I click on it, without misleading them. And there's a way to do that. And so, yeah, I think, Dustin, to answer your question, you're fine, man. That was well done. Well spoken. It's a long show anyway, right? So if you fuck up once in 3 hours, you have a great ratio.
Yeah.
Karak, anything you want to add on, or shall we wrap this bad boy up?
I think publishers are like editors, and they do have a responsibility to make sure the book doesn't sound like shit by making sure the periods are in the right places and stuff like that. And that includes patches later. So I think they do share a responsibility. And I mean, I think he's being completely anal, and I'm that way too. So I get where he's coming from. I hate it, but I've done it so many times with Bethesda, like getting an ESO, even getting ESO. We've talked about that, where I'll be like, it's Bethesda and ESO, and people, but dude, what the fuck you talking about? ZeniMax? I'll be like, yeah, you're right. But I mean, it's the same. I have seen people say, I've seen people actually say Bethesda and Fallout New Vegas too. Like,
yeah, that's where you're just wrong.
That's where you're wrong, but it was Bethesda that was publishing it for Obsidian, who was developing it. So to me, they are wrong, but at the same time, I'm not going to be like, dude, before you can talk, we need to have you pass the bar exam on video games. Like, at some point, I think he's right on creators, though. I get what you mean about your title, and I have long titles. Mine's like buy, wait, rent for at the end of everything.
Right.
And I'm just like, I don't give a fuck. Sometimes I'll put a short title, sometimes I'll put a long one. He's absolutely right. Some people are probably baiting, but I think some people just are like you, condensing and being like, just click the fucking button and I'll explain it better.
Yeah, right.
When I can talk as long as I want versus 144 letters.
Yeah.
Or whatever. What is it? No, it's 100 now. It's 100,
that's the
right?
other thing. I was going to say that what you're also maybe seeing is a product of YouTube more and more trying to just get, because there's like a couple of facets. Yeah, you want blurbs because you'll have a mobile, and then where a lot of your viewers come from, and then you'll have the web page. And so your video title, you may type out and be like, that's great. And then you go on your phone and like it cuts off at a part where you don't get the point across quick enough. Same thing but on the web page, it looks good. Like that's the game you play. So some people are too fucking brief. And I like making sure, like, I feel better when I post a video and the title is like a good number of words. Like, so it means there's more information there. But sometimes, at least with video creators, what you should be seeing is the title can be, I don't want to say vague, but the title can just be like a general statement
to get people in.
Not only that, but we're video creators, so we have thumbnails. We're not like websites where they just post a 4K screenshot with a headline. Yeah. We're video creators, so we have a thumbnail, so we can put, for me, I put text in the bottom left corner, which usually it connects to my title, where there's a, okay, he's saying this in the title, he's asking this in the thumbnail. Okay, now I get at least an image of where the video's going, and it just sells it a little bit easier. So that might be an issue with YouTube in general. I'm not sure. But all right, ladies and gentlemen, almost a 3-hour, 20-minute podcast. We're all hungry probably.
Dude, I was hungry when we started talking about food so much.
I know, right? That was like an hour ago.
I know it was.
So if you got this far, we're gonna do a hashtag. What do you guys feel about either hungry, long haul? Ketchup is great. It could be a good one.
Ketchup is great. Would be good.
I'm out. I quit the show.
I'm out.
I'm done.
It's like it's over.
All right,
it's over.
We'll do. What did you say, Karak? It was
I just said hungry or hangry, one of the two, because I am hungry as fuck.
Yeah, as am I. I got dinner in the fridge right now, so we're going to hustle off here. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the H.A.M Radio Podcast, a longer one. Thank you for staying tuned. Let us know once again with the hashtag hungry, and we will see you guys next week for episode 264, all right? Peace out.
Peace out. Oh, I'm gone. Jeez, peace out. Nom, nom.